What is interesting is whenever I move my YouTube window and I've set it to like show the whole live chat, I just move the window a bit and it turns it back to top chat.
Yeah, I got that as well. Right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers, and sisters. Welcome back to the MSR GT1 2005 Championship. We hit the midway point with round number 4, our endurance round here at Spa. My name is King-Kodiak. I'll be one of your commentators throughout tonight's festivities. Joining me in the commentary box, I'm always happy to say, is Martin.
Greetings.
I love that. I'm rolling R. I say it every weekend. I wish I could do it. So then, championship-wise, Kaiser continues his charge at the top. But Matt's storming through into second, just 20 points behind. So the Lemon Aston Martins ruling the roost at present. So 74 points to Kaiser and 54 to Matt. Eddie is up into third position in the Martini Maserati. And then Ricky, who currently is fastest in practice, is in fourth position now, finishing 7th last time out in Virginia on 47. Just 2 points further back is Gilish in the Martini, in the second of the Martini Maseratis. He's on 45. Fennec, after finishing inside the top 5 twice in a row now, is in the cream-coloured Dodge. He is 6th with 44, alongside Mammoth, who was on the podium again in the Star Wars Aston Martin, also on 44. Andrew in 8th position, jumping up to 40 points with that brilliant 4th place. However, Andrew has had an issue, shall we say. The table clamp has broken on his Dodge, so he's still here. He's endeavouring to race on a control pad. Fair play to Andrew. Big shout out to Andrew for endeavouring to continue despite the fact that his main control source has detonated on him. So huge props to Andrew for that one. Jedlin in 9th position on 37. Jedlin sadly not with us tonight. And Cuckoo rounds out the top 10 on 31, who has actually lost a few points due to Stewart's inquiries in the white Corvette, on the second of the Star Wars Corvettes. 15 drivers currently with us as a practice session has concluded, as you can see on the stream, with Ricky getting the top spot, the only car into the 214s. But it does seem to be a bit dominated by the Astons as we head into the qualifying session. 15 minutes to decide the grid for our 90-minute race.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. The only endurance race of the season, and hopefully we'll both be able to stay lucid and sane throughout the whole thing. Because I just noticed, I was looking over and squinting at my screen, wondering why I couldn't read half the things, and I'd forgotten I'd taken off my glasses. So that's definitely not boding well for my own intelligence tonight. But yeah, it's looking like we have 16 drivers on the grid tonight. It's very interesting to see some other people other than I believe it was Keza and Matt's in the front. Ricky bringing the challenge to the top drivers tonight.
As indeed. Now, can we need to double check. Go Keza, we have support for Keza already. There's a couple of things I need to double check. Now, Arid has joined us, who was not with us last time out in the Maserati. He has not left the pit garage yet. He's in one of the. Oh, he's the one with the Lego symbols on his wing. Can we just double check Matt's for a moment, please, cameraman? Good. We had an interesting problem for me anyway during practice. That I was desynced to Matt, so on my screen, on Martin's screen, all is well. He was doing his lap. On my screen, he is jittering like mad, trying to go through the pit wall, which was going to be interesting if that could transited to the race. But thankfully, Matt, as we can quite clearly see, coming through the Fanny chicane and on his merry way. So, storming through to the victory last time in the second of the Lemon Astons. Matt has really put himself in contention. But what a great season we've had thus far as we hit the halfway stage. 3 races, 3 different winners. And Kaiser being the most consistent with all 3 rounds being on the podium. Now watch me commentator curse him. It's been really up and down. We've had quite a few ranges of results, shall we say.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show that the top drivers in this league, they do not always play it safe. They push the car for the love of the game, and that inevitably means that sometimes they will crash and sometimes they will taste glory, and that keeps things exciting for us.
Very true. And sometimes it's not through driver mistake or anything like that. I mean, Mammoth opening round, his steering wheel decided it wanted to update itself whilst we're at Ikari Pagwa. So I mean, that's nothing he could have done anything about. It just, his wheel decided, no, I want to do this now. But he's been on the podium since. So you've got to ask the question, what might have been for Mammoth? But then all it takes is one mistake, especially on a 90-minute race where we transist all the way from day to night to day. Hello, Galax. Good to see you in chat, good sir. So yeah, so this is really, really going to be interesting, this one.
Yeah, and of course we do have a bit of an interesting system in how points are counted in this league. There is one drop round, so if you do have a bad result due to you not being able to make a race, or you have some sort of technical difficulty, the worst result of your season will be dropped. So of course that is something to take into account when you do see the standings. It doesn't quite give you the full picture until the very end of the season, but I'm sure that drivers like the ones that have suffered those mechanical faults will be very happy about that. And in a way, I mean, it kind of adds to the simulation, because in real life you have mechanical failures as well.
Very true indeed. And sometimes you are caught up in other people's mistakes, as the real world would also dictate. So yes, this is where art imitates life, so to speak.
Yeah, that is absolutely the case, as the first laps should be coming in fairly soon. 15 minutes to qualify for this race. We're about 4 minutes in. Who do you think is going to be the first one to set a time here?
If the numbers are right, it should be Kaiser that is coming across the line. So I also forgot yet again that the tower is more than 16 names deep. So I forgot we had 17 names on the board. No, so that's Kaiser starting his lap. So Eddie, I think, is right behind. No, it looks like people are starting their fast laps. There's a wonderful camera, or a wonderful camera to start with. I think we should be all right with the cameras. So we're not.
Oh, he has actually set a lap. I think it's because it's the endurance pit lane that they're using. The start lines on that part as well.
Yes, and of course, this being the 2005 layout, I think the start-finish line was actually after La Source, not before it. So again, reconditioning the old grey matter. So time starting to get on the board. So we did see 1:2:14 last time out by Ricky, who's yet to get a time on the board. The current pole sitter is Matt, so that's not too much a surprise, considering he really dominated the practice session. It was right at the end that Ricky in the Anime Aston got that 2:14 on the board, but they have 9.5 minutes of which to get their times in. Currently Matt's with the top time of 2:15.1.
Yeah, that's actually quite an impressive time, considering that we saw no one but Rookie into the 14s. Mats has a pretty good chance of improving on that if he's already that quick from the get-go. The Rookie, plenty of room to improve with a current 2:16. Lots of drivers still yet to settle up. Some drivers showing up despite being in somewhat ill health, so we do wish them well, and hopefully they'll last the longest race of the season. 17 drivers currently competing for glory.
I think we are set for a 39 lap race distance, so that should take us to approximately 90 minutes, as Eddie is up into second position in the Martini Maserati with the 2:15.8, Kaiser in third with 2:16.1. Well, we did see a 2:15 from Kaiser early on. We're riding on board with Ricky in fourth, and Bernd up into fifth position. A great qualifying for him. Ooh, Gillish is now jumped to the top of the tree in the Martini Maserati. So a 2:15.0 for Gillish Homan. Very nicely done indeed.
Now, about the endurance length of this race, I have a theory that the reason why we have at least one endurance round in, I'd say, pretty much every season, maybe we've skipped it a few times, but it's because otherwise it would be called 60 minutes, and that name's obviously taken. So we have to make something that's not consistently 60 minutes.
Great observation, sir. Oh, look at that. Not even a tenth of a second separating our current top two over a 2-minute lap. That is fantastic. As we continue to watch Gillish flirt with the outside. Well, we did, until he then returned himself to the pits. He probably invalidated that lap. I did think that was a long way off the road. At No Name, there was...
hold on. Ricky's done it. He's put it into the 14s fairly early on. Will he be able to improve on that? Do you remember exactly what the 14 time was that he said in practice?
I don't, unfortunately, but still, he was the only man to manage it. And again, and you can see there's no one in front of him, so that's not a slipstream-enabled lap. Now, you were surmising earlier, Martin, that... about who was going to go for a more downforce laden setup, so to be stronger and more comfortable in the corners. As Bernd has spun. Bernd has jumped up to 4th actually, but wow. I just saw he was stationary at the top of Radion. What we say? Yes, so downforce. Either you're going to be strong in the straights if you trim out the downforce, but then be very uncomfortable in the twisty bits, and there is a significant amount of twisty bit in Sector 2, or you are very, very flat out through Sectors 1 and 3, but is that realistically where you're going to do a lot of your passing? And I've just realised where my pit marker is. It's on the outside of... It's just off the road at Blanchimont. So
yeah, I can see that as well. Let's get a nice onboard shot of it. Look to your right-hand side through Blanchimont.
Eyes right, and did we have this before where we didn't see it on the onboard camera? It's only the offboard one that shows it, because it's not there on my screen unless you saw it.
No, we're absolutely being gaslit here.
Yes. Oops, and that's a spin for Matt on the exit. On the entry of the bus. Warlord up into second place in the JPS Maserati. And he's, too, by the merest margin, got into the 214s. A stunning effort up top.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I put the camera on him. I remember he was outperforming himself massively in practice, and he's once again put it up there now. I think we can definitely still not count out Gillish for his efforts. He is one of the drivers that's actually not feeling the best tonight, but as you can see, it has not affected his one-lap pace one bit.
Very, very true. And this is not the sort of race you want to be feeling ill, as you were alluding to earlier. 90 minutes of Spa, any version of Spa, is quite a torment. I love this track. I know that I think it was Jedlin that was saying he's not a fan of this track. I think that's heresy to not be a fan of Spa personally, but there we go.
I will say I've generally enjoyed driving around this track as well, though I do have a traumatic memory or two spent here. It's I was one of the unfortunate attendees of Spa 2021, which we still never got our money back for, but that's bygones are bygones, I suppose.
And probably never will, is the sad fact of that. But as we now look at Exus, our sole Lamborghini of the season. And for
almost
those
fitting there.
Yeah. So you see it in the same place as I do. We've had it in strange places. It was up in a tree in one round. So yeah.
I mean, this game was pretty much made based off of the same engine that PC2 ran, correct?
Yes, it was built on the Madness engine. It's a heavily modified Madness engine, but it was originally built on such.
See, that's just very, very funny, because I believe that is actually one of the bugs that may well be inherent to that system, because the exact same thing would happen on, I think, both PC1 and 2, is I would have not only just pit boxes sometimes, I would have like an entire member of the pit crew just floating above turn 1 on some tracks.
As you do. Exos gets himself inside the top 10 with a 2:17.357. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to set any lap times this time, so I don't know where I would have been. I'm generally near the back. I have been fortunate enough to not be last on 2 rounds so far. On the opening one at Yakari Park, I was last because I've never driven there before. Which, in a way, is a little bit of retribution to those that have joined me for my video series. Yes, Galax, I'm looking at you. Several. Ooh. Oh, as Condor's tail, let's go there. What I mean by that is the video series I run on my channel is random track, car, opponents, and weather. And there are times when we're hitting tracks that we just do not know. So, as retribution for my Cody acolytes, as I've nicknamed them, for those that join me on my video series, I have been subject to the same of trying to do laps on a track I just do not know.
Yeah, it is quite a steep learning curve, especially if the track is a bit more of the twisty variant now. I feel really, really bad for Andrew because he is being an absolute trooper right now. Wheel not quite in functioning condition, has moved to the controller. You can see it by his inputs. And I mean, I hope he's got a bit more pace than this, but he seems to be struggling. He is half a second off the nearest driver. And I think he will be relying on keeping that car on track tonight and hoping that others don't do the same.
Yeah, very, very true. And on my screen, he's doing it one-handed as well. But, I mean, yeah, fair play to Andrew. You know, respect to you, sir, for sticking it out and not just throwing in the towel. Brilliant result last time. Was close to a podium, but sadly the fuel strategy going against him. Did improve on that lap to a 2:19.0. Yeah, you can just see by his inputs that it's almost very digital, but he's been really tuning that out over the course of the practice. Well, he was 15th, he's just been pushed down. I think Arad has jumped up one position. So the only driver not to set a time thus far is Condor. Oh, and that's going to be Andrew's problem. We're still running on board with him as we come through the Lake chicane. You saw how he had to really wrestle through the twisty bits. And he's got to do this for 90 minutes. I do not envy you, sir.
Yeah, see, and there, I think that's going to be the end of his qualifying. And really, the struggle when you're on a controller in this game, it's twofold. Because not only do you need to tinker with the setup, which you need to be a rocket scientist for to begin with, as Matt's now a new provisional pole at the end of the session. 14.3 is insane.
Wow. Great effort in the Lemon Aston.
Absolutely, no discounting that. But as I was saying about Andrew, is you have to be a rocket scientist to figure out the setup. And even if you have the perfect setup, if your controller settings are bad, you will still be in last place no matter how good your setup is. So that is a whole other kettle of fish. You need to fine-tune the steering sensitivity, the speed sensitivity, controller damping, in some cases probably brake and throttle sensitivity as well. And it's just really, it adds such an extra layer of complexity that's absolutely underappreciated in my opinion.
Oh, entirely. Absolutely true. Now, I think it is widely recognised that the wheel is the preferred control method, but I've seen top-level league racers be very, very quick on a control pad. There was one I used to commentate on iRacing League a number of years ago, and he was regularly in the top 5 on a control pad that apparently would not dead zone straight.
That is very interesting. I remember I tried a controller on iRacing once. And there's a reason I only tried it once. The controller support was so bad, I was quite frankly insulted that they had even added it to the game. Like, if you're going to make the support that bad, just don't include it at all, because they clearly do not care about controller drivers in that game.
And Andrew, speak of the devil, said, my hand hurts already.
Oh,
that's a slide from Gillish. Well held, sir. Welcome to Toyota Hashiria. I still can't get the name right, but greetings to you. Yes, indeed, insane laps from Matt and Ricky in the 214s, and Warlord as well. Also, he's actually improved by half a tenth, but he remains in third. Gillish is giving it plenty of slidey ways coming out of La Source. Now, in this layout of the circuit, La Source is the final corner, not the first one. I'm going to have to remind myself of that numerous times.
Also, I do believe that name should be pronounced as Hashiria.
Hashiria, thank you. Again, I am always very keen to get people's names right. I will write it out 100 times and rehearse it until I get it right.
If you want good practice, watch plenty of F2 and F3, because there are some people with unique names in there, let me tell you.
So, I missed some of that because I was reading what Andrew said.
No, I was saying if you want practice on like name pronunciation, you got to watch Formula 2 and Formula 3, because there are some drivers in there. It's a very international series. You can see a lot of unique names there.
Yeah, so very true. I'm assuming you can see what Andrew has called you in chat.
See, the fact that he even knows what that word means, I think means that he's secretly won as well.
Right then, so Matt and Ricky, both wearing German flags. I don't fully trust these flags here because I know they can often be wrong. So Matt and Ricky, both Aston Martins on the front row. Warlord and Gillish in Maseratis have row 2. Wait for it to transist. There we go. So there is our pole sitter. That is Matt in the Lemon Aston. Ricky alongside him in the Anime Aston with Gillish. With Warlord in third in the JPS inspired Maserati, with Gillish in the Martini Maserati alongside him on row 2. Then it is Kaiser, our championship leader, in the second of the 11 Aston Martins. In fifth alongside Bernd. Great effort for him in the JPS inspired Maserati. We're going to have to change camera in a minute because they're hiding behind each other. Eddie in the next. So there we go. In the Martini Maserati is alongside our first Dodge of the night. That is Xevious in 8th position, Andrew's teammate. Cuckoo in the Star Wars Corvette in 9th place on the inside of row 5 alongside JD in the second of the Anime Aston Martins. Mammoth, not a good qualifying run for him. He's going to have to work hard to get up to the podium spots, but a long race in which to do it.
Wait, before you go on, can you read the rear wing there?
I can. Oh, the rear wing. No, I can't. It's too dark.
It says, "May the force feedback."
Like it. That is fantastic. So, and that has put me off entirely. Mammoth on the inside of row 6 alongside X's in the Lamborghini in the Falcon flavoured Lambo are in 12th place. Bullet San in the Falcon Corvette has the inside of row 7 alongside Condor in the Scuderia Maserati in 14th. And then it is Captain, our newcomer to the league, in the Maserati, in the Scuderia Maserati. Arid in the cream-coloured Dodge is then alongside our frankly, hero of the day, the now controller-driven Andrew at the back of the field. It wasn't by much, I will say, that his pace wasn't that far off the back of the fields, considering he's using a control scheme he is not familiar with. Again, fair play to you. So it is a rolling lap, so for those unfamiliar with the series, newcomers welcome along. It is a rolling lap for the opening one, and they will form up. I think it's just before the bus stop, or around. No, again, forgetting where the start and finish line is. I think it is just before the bus stop. The way will form the 2x2 lines, and then it will be go on the way down to the start finish line. So after La Source, and then we'll be racing for another 38 laps thereafter. So. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Will we see a fourth winner from 4 races?
Yeah, could this be the F1 2012 equivalent of an MSR season? Let's find out. And I must say, Eau Rouge being turn 1 is quite the design choice indeed. I am looking forward to that. Hopefully not an instant safety car, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yes, it is really taking me a lot of head wrapping to wrap my head around the fact that La Source is the final turn. The pit lane entry is after La Source. That is going to catch me out. So because this is the endurance version of this circuit, the pit lane entry is after La Source, and it reappears at the bottom of Roe Rouge. We haven't started the race, that's just Andrew keeping up with the pack. They are kind of getting on with it a bit because the lap is so long.
Oh, actually, I do have one other interesting thing to say about this track now. For Christmas, I actually got a little piece of La Source, some tarmac that they've broken up when they resurfaced the corner. So you can actually buy pieces of this track on their website.
Nice, a bit of memorabilia there. Great stuff. Your 2012 F1. That was 7 winners from the first 7, was it?
Yes.
That was Pastor Maldonado was the winner for Williams. Yeah, that's the
absolute GOAT.
Let's not go there. I do not want the comments and catching fire on that one. But yes, I remember that season. It's scary to think that was 14 years ago. I mean, I knew I was old to start with, but that has really made me feel old.
Yeah, it's definitely not as old as this track layout, that's for sure.
Very true. And as we switch to the camera, switch to the mats from the off-board camera, I should say. That's going to be a fun one. And my pit marker is actually behind the tower, so we won't notice it an awful lot. Here we are coming up to the bus stop. Are they going to? Oh, they might form after the bus stop, and that does actually make more sense. Keep it safe in the first corner. Yes, absolutely.
Of course, this version of the bus stop actually shaped like a bus stop, unlike the current version.
Very true. So are we going to form the 2x2? Yep, there they go. So they're going to have to crawl around. Just watching Xevious there, kind of catching up with the line. It's like the person that's late for school assembly come running out. So then around La Source they will come, which is going to be probably a little bit more difficult for those on the inside than the outside to just maintain their position. And then it is any point from here, as wonderful camera, the mats will floor it and signify the beginning of round number 4. Wait for it. This is where it gets all very tense. And away we go. We are racing here at Spa. So then looks like the Maserati of Gillish getting alongside Warlord coming through a Rouge. Brave at the best of times. Now these GT cars can take a bit of door rubbing, so it's not as crazy. Oh, 3 wide right behind Xevious as the camera's looking at him. He's jumped out from behind Ben. Ben's fallen a couple of positions. Oh, 3 wide still coming up to Lake Arm. Oh, we've got, I think it was Mammoth getting onto the grass. But he's managed to keep his Maserati. Oh, that's someone off. Oh, no. Bullet Sand. Ah, there's 2 there. There's no JD
as well.
Huge damage to the front of the Anime Aston, and also damage to the Corvette. Is that going to be a safety car? Well, both cars are now running, and it does look like everybody is staying up to speed.
Only 2 cars involved, I think, unless there was another car that did not get damaged, but they're all still pushing hard, so I do believe we won't be seeing a safety car for that. Matt's peeling off into the distance. It was interesting seeing all those cars 3-4 wide on the straight, and Matt's just so much bigger on the screen because of how far ahead he was, and I think Ricky, they're trying to follow his breakaway. Warlord in P3, holding down the field. It's an absolute train down there.
Go Captain, we have in chat a chant for our newcomer who's up into 12th at the moment. There is Gillish, round 1 winner in the Martini Maserati, with Kaiser, our championship leader, right on his tail, who in turn has Xevious in the question mark Dodge. So right ahead of, so there is Captain, who's got himself a bit of breathing space fore and aft in the Scuderia Maserati team. There is Gillish with all swarm of cars right around him. Warlord up into 3rd now in the JPS inspired Maserati. Great job there. Kaiser 5th, Xevious 6th, Bern down to 7th. That's a shame for him. Andrew is up into 13th place in the 2nd of the question mark Dodges. He'll be quite pleased with that.
Taking 2 cars on merit, not counting JD and Bullet there in the incident.
Yep, very, very true. Look at this stream of cars behind Warlord. I don't think Warlord's holding them up. It's just a case of everybody is in everyone else's slipstream, though Warlord's going to be under a lot of pressure now, as he will not have slipstream off the back of Ricky and Matt, who have broken away to the tune of, that's about 2.5 seconds. Oh, that's Andrew that has gone for a bit of a wander at the top of Radion, forgetting my corner names, side by side for Arid and Andrew. How is that going to filter out? The Cream Corvette has worked his way back up into 13th. JD and Bulletsam have both pitted, as we somewhat expected them to do. Hopefully they will be able to rejoin the races. Gaze against the inside line on Warlord, who is going to potentially lose out, but he's going to the Aston's going to have the outside line coming through No Name, and back into 5th position. Well driven from both of them.
And Gillish has actually managed to take P3 and take off while we weren't quite looking, so well done to him as well. It'll be interesting to see if he can catch up to Ricky, who's actually inching closer and closer to Matt as we speak. For that Andrew overtake, Yeah, I mean, once you understeer up Radion, you've basically sacrificed quite a bit of speed for the rest of that straight. So an easy move there for Arid as Condor's now gone past Ender as well. I think he's had an off-track moment. His wing's gone.
Oh no, I did see that he was stationary at no name, but oh no, he's backed that one into the wall. Well, I'll give his hand a rest while he pits us. Oh no, and he's touched the grass. He's gone round again. Oh dear. I mean, to be honest, no one would really, no one would be too upset with him if he had to retire. That's Warlord and Kaiser swapping around now on their way through Blanchimont. The Maserati losing out to the Lemon Aston on this occasion, and it looks is Xevious trying to make a move. He thought about it, but didn't commit to it. So that is Kaiser up into fourth.
By the way, I will be writing down the first commentator's curse of the evening, because you said that Warlord was not holding them up. He just had such good pace, and then that same lap he lost 2 positions. So I will absolutely be writing that
Guilty
down.
as charged on that one. Oh dear. So a bit of ping pong effect between Warlord in between Kaiser and Xevious there. So the Maserati had nowhere really to go, and it ended up being shunted in that particular melee. Oh, that's Cuckoo and the teammates. The Star Wars inspired teammates, Cuckoo and Mammoth side by side. That's the Aston losing out to the Corvette. But now Mammoth has got the opportunity to try and get that position back. No team orders going on between these two, as we watch on board with Exus. He's acting as a great cameraman for us in the Falcon-coloured Lamborghini, as Mammoth regains that 9th position from his teammate.
Yeah, very close up ahead between Bernd, Warlord, and Xevious. That fight is anyone's position.
And you can see just up ahead, that's Gillish that's being challenged by Kaiser for the first step on the podium. But look at how close to the back of Xevious. So Warlord's lost out to the question mark Dodge now. Riding on board with Bernd. So the two JPS Maseratis now together.
And hold on, the fight for the lead, it has gotten even closer. Ricky has managed to slash that gap in half now, just 0.3 of a second. We could see an overtake for the lead here at any point.
Very true indeed. Although it looked like Mats was a little bit more comfortable coming through the final chicane. Out through Stavolo now, as Ricky is doing his best to stay in the tyre tracks of Mats. Andrew is in the pits, as we somewhat thought he would. There is Gillish Homan, then under pressure from Kaiser. Coming up to Blanchimont. The Aston thinks about the inside manoeuvre, but gets the door slammed very unceremoniously in his face.
Yeah, then returning to the racing line. Absolutely nowhere for Kaiser to go at this moment. Can he send it on the brakes into the bus stop? It's not quite as easy as it is in the 2026 layout.
No, you daren't try that in these cars. There's too much of a turn to the right to try and banzai. I mean, I'll say that, and we'll watch somebody else do that later. But in my experience in this layout, trying to banzai the inside of the bus stop like that is a fast ticket to certain death. As Exus now tries to move on Cuckoo on the inside line of the source before they complete the lap and into the pits. Oh, that's early. That's Bernd. That's Bernd that's come in. So. Oh, side by side coming down into a Rouge. Who's going to blink on this one? I think Exus had to kind of concede there. It's possible to do side by side there, but it's very, very, very dangerous to do.
You would both have to shave off so much speed, especially in these understeery cars. So well done to both of them. They live to fight another 34 laps.
At the bottom of the shot, that's Mammoth on Eddie. Challenging for 7th position. Oh, Exus I think was a little bit deep coming into the final chicane. No, wrong part. That's Lecom, beg your pardon. As riding on Cuckoo, and we had that delicious roar of the Corvette as his teammate has a go at Eddie. Ooh. Oh, they've both gone a bit deep, but Mammoth gets the drive out of Rivage, but can't keep it. No, the Maserati manages to fight back. And that's going to allow Cuckoo then to close right onto the back of Mammoth, who has a look on the inside line coming down to Pouan. Can't commit to it. So great fight here for 7th.
Absolutely. It's may not be quite as many points as you get for a podium, but they're fighting just as hard for it, as he's now put tires onto the grass, losing ground to his teammate. Cuckoo tries to send it around the outside.
It's doable. You need to trust the person you're trying to make the move on. But Mammoth still defends that inside line, gets the inside into Stavolo, and keeps the Corvette. But oh no! That's the Falcon Corvette of Bulletsand. Oh, it's been a horrible race for the Corvettes. That is a great, great shame.
The car does still seem to be in working order, though. I think the gravel doing its job there. But yeah, not a great start to the evening for Bulletsand. I think X is having some slightly better fortunes here, still putting pressure on Cuckoo. We know not an easy driver to overtake.
Again, he had a look. I think it was... Oh, there's a tangle between the Corvette and the Lamborghini, but they managed to survive that one. No, he's not driving one-handed. It's just how the camera looks. But, yeah, it did look like there was contact between Exus and Cuckoo, but they are still proceeding on apace. Exus having a great race here. He had a pretty decent run at Yakari Park, where he was 8th position there, but really struggled in Virginia last time out. And that's Kaiser not quite getting the exit of Radion right. But is he going to be able to stay in the slipstream of Gillish? There's Warlord coming in to show he's starting to recover some lost ground. The Aston jumps out from the slipstream of Gillish. Not with enough overspeed, though. Remains in 4th.
Yeah, I think Kaiser potentially just opting not to stay in the slipstream. Probably not to save engine temperatures or anything. Probably just to not get an unfair advantage, because he did cut Radion quite badly. So fair play to Kaiser. We know he's quite strict about track limits. A little bit further behind, we have Eddie in 6th place. A bit of pressure on him from Mammoth, but Mammoth, I think, putting a bit more pressure on himself, really, and going too deep.
It did look a little ambitious there. A little bit late on the brakes for the Star Wars Aston Martin. It's Kaiser still challenging Gillis. Very, very close to the tail of the Martini Maserati. There you can see in the distances. That's a back marker we can see. That is Andrew. So Andrew has chosen to continue. Oh! Just as I say that, I was going to say he's chosen to continue and then ends up backwards at the Founder chicane. But he's not. He's still in one piece, so he's got the car patched up. And he's going to get out right behind. That was Condor that he got out behind. Right in front of Bulletsand. So those two are actually arguing for wooden spoon avoidance.
Yeah, so this is actually a fight for position. Even at the back, you're not that lonely just yet, as now Kaiser looking to the inside of Blanchimont has been given space. Gillis trying to hold on to that position there on the outside, a little bit wide, but manages to keep it.
We are descending into darkness, so we're simulating a 25-hour race, so we will be going through the darkness back into daylight in the course of this race. As Ultimate Kaiser trying to size up a move, tries to wrong step the Maserati, but can't get it done. That's allowing Warlord to close back in. Mammoth is being challenged by his teammate, who in turn is being challenged by Exus. Xevious is right there as well. Side by side through La Source they come, and they still side by side. The Lamborghini wants a part of it, but can't. There's nowhere that he can join to make that a 3. You would not want to go 3 wide coming through Eau Rouge anyway. And the Star Wars cars have resolved themselves. Cuckoo ahead of Mammoth.
Meanwhile, something's happened. Mattsy's messed up at Lecombe, so Ricky now the new race leader. But Mats, I think it was only a small mistake. He's only lost about a second, but when you're that close to each other, that's all you need to lose the lead. So well done to Ricky. Lap 7 is our new leader.
That he is. Now Ricky's shown some blinding pace all the way through practice, as we now look at Xevious, who is on the back of this particular conga line that is being led at the moment. Being led at the moment by, that is Eddie at the front of this queue. So Eddie, Mammoth, Cuckoo. So Mammoth's back ahead of Cuckoo again. The Star Wars pair are having a great old argument, and now Mammoth has got the Aston back ahead of the Corvette. Please don't. We don't have any control over who when the commentator curse kicks in. We don't want to curse Ricky at all, but he's done a fantastic job to wrestle the lead away from Mats.
Yeah, I'd say not the only one doing a great job here as well. There's currently 3 major fights going on. It's this multi-car fight for P6 down to 10th that you see right here. The lead is still being fought over as well. As is 3rd place, and you can see Kaiser once again down the inside of Blanchimont. Will he make it stick this time?
He's got the overlap, he's nosed ahead, and that was a wheel on the dust by Gillish there. That has sealed the deal for now, but can Gillish make a fight back? He's having a look at the inside of the one place I said that was inadvisable to do it, but you saw that Kaiser really had to go so defensive there. Look at the Maseratis all over the back of the Aston Martin, and if they keep fighting that like that, that is going to help Warlord close in further to them.
As I think someone's lost some positions here. I think there might have been some off-screen contact.
Yes, I would agree with that as Axis bounces off the wall. He's still trying to get a lot. I think he's actually trying to stay out of Zevis's way. Is the Lambo going to come in? No, he has opted to continue. So what's happened here with Axis, we don't quite know. We didn't see it. Gillish has got the momentum on Kaiser, though. Kaiser goes to that defensive line. I think it's going to be academic. The overspeed from the Maserati is really quite something, but he backs out of it. He let go of the throttle just as we changed camera there, and that's allowed Kaiser to maintain third.
Yeah, and I will say as well about the defensive move by Kaiser into the bus stop chicane. You might think in this version of the bus stop that there's absolutely no way anyone's going to send it. But you saw Kaiser still had to get defensive because he's got Gillish behind him. Gillish will absolutely try insane moves like that. We've seen him do it before, so you can never count him out if he's right behind you. Meanwhile, the top two continuing to fight as well, but I'd say Ricky probably just trying to keep that car as stable as he can. He saw Mats ahead pushing ahead of him, and Mats managed to make a mistake, so he probably does not want to repeat that.
On board with Cookie now, staying at the back of his teammate, who's still challenging Eddie. Oh, it's Condor and Arid are close together.
I thought they were side by side. The Delta was somewhat lying to me, but definitely still close battle for 11th.
Well, on my screen, looking at the Delta, Condor should be ahead of Arid, but there we go. Oh, no, that was corrected itself. Arid a little deep coming into the Fanny chicane, but Condor was not close enough to capitalise on that. Access looking at the back of Zevius. So the Usses are arguing for 9th. Cuckoo and Mammoth is still locked in battle with Eddie. Oh, that's going to force the Aston to the outside line, but he got out of that, and I think wisely so. Didn't fancy going side by side through Blanchimont. Eddie doing a brilliant job of keeping that defensive posture and keeping the Star Wars cars behind.
Well, very aggressive rotation. Did you see that? And it might actually work for a switchback. He's just not got the traction for it.
Whether it was intended or not, it was a very violent rotation there, as now the Corvette's having a look one side but doesn't commit to the other. We now see the need for headlights very much on. Condor is ahead now of Arid, but Arid has a look on the inside line coming down into the break-ins over the source. Can he get the Corvette slowed down enough? He does, so that's 11 back in the hands of Arid.
Meanwhile, the P3 fight continues to get spicy as, well, I think Gillish might be doing some fuel saving there.
Interesting. So he's staying in the tyre tracks of Kaiser, which in itself is no mean feat. As we see Exus is now in the pits now in the Lamborghini, running on board with Cuckoo, who is still pressuring his teammate, who in turn is still pressuring Eddie.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if Exus did touch the wall there or if that was just a bit of lag on our part, but if he did touch the wall, he might well be in for an early pit stop to fix some damage, as we're now on lap 9 of 39, about a quarter's way through this race. Indeed. All drivers still on the grid as well, so hats off to no one. Hats off to everyone for not giving up, really. Yeah,
very, very true indeed. This three-way fight continues. As Mammoth mounts the curb on the inside line of Blanchimont, Pouon rather. Of all places, why am I getting Spa's corner names wrong? It's one of the most famous circuits in the world.
Speaking of Spa corner names, though, if you look up the corner names, a bunch of different maps actually have different names for multiple corners, and
that is true.
Incredibly confusing.
That is very true. I know the one I'm using, and these are the corner names I'm familiar with, but there are a few corners that do have multiple names, like Double Gauche for Pouon, which I've never heard anybody say. I've never heard anyone say Double Gauche before, or Gauche, however it's pronounced. As Mammoth, as he tries to get the inside line on Eddie, but Eddie's having none of that.
There you can see it very well with the May the force feedback.
May the force feedback, that's brilliant. To the bus stop once again.
Very easy to lose the rear in this corner. It may look very slow, but these cars do not care. They will spin on you if you're not careful. And I think something may well have happened to Andrew Zoe, because he is quite a distance now behind Bullet Sand.
Well, we did see him have that spin And again, all credit to Andrew for persevering with the controller, not just throwing in the towel. That was Kaiser we just saw. Gillish is now falling a bit off the back of the Lemon Aston. There is Mammoth, still trying to challenge Eddie. Where has Cuckoo gone? Cuckoo's still there. He's now he's made a mistake somewhere and has lost himself around about a second and a bit to his teammate. Has a look, but does not commit to the inside of Lake On.
Yeah, it's starting to calm down a little bit. I think some drivers either feeling a bit uncomfortable with the temperature differences now that nightfall has started, or it's simply some drivers struggling a bit more with tire wear. It could be either or. As the fight for the lead, it must be said, still continuing on. We haven't seen too many moves there, but these two are not giving each other all that much time to relax whatsoever. I mean, just missing an apex can easily cost you half a second, and that is the gap between the two leaders. A spin would, in good circumstances, cost you between 6 to 8 seconds, and a half spin would maybe be about half of that. So I think no matter what happens, they probably would be safe from Kaiser for at least one incident, provided that they don't get any damage.
Mats is staying very much in the wing mirrors of Ricky here. So looks like he had the momentum but no space to use it there as they're coming through Blanchimont now to the bus stop once more. And again you see the Anime Aston just wandering over to the left there, just making sure that Mats is away. He is closing that door through to La Source once again. I think Mats is having to bide his time here. He's not doing anything silly. He's not throwing the car into places he just will not go. And that's a mistake. That's Ricky too deep on La Source, but again manages to get a great exit though, despite the fact he was very deep, and that keeps Mats at bay. Oh, there's been a change. It's Mammoth and Eddie. They had briefly swapped round, but they once again the Maserati has managed to keep the Aston Martin at bay.
Yeah, I kind of wish we'd seen that, because you don't typically see moves into this version of the bus stop, so we'll have to keep our eye on this duo for a good bit. And it is interesting. I mean, even if you miss the apex and turn, I guess the final corner in this layout.
Oh, Cuckoo spun. Cuckoo's down to 11th.
Is there any damage on that car? It seems to be fine from the rear, fine in the front as well. I think that's just going to be some wounded pride there.
Indeed, bear in mind that he was in that Congo line. Oh, that's Arid.
That's not wounded pride. That's actual damage.
Yes, so he's probably given it one too many beans coming out of La Source, and that is oh dear, that's very wounded. You can't park there, sir.
I think he might be adjusting his pit strategy before going into the actual fast lane here.
Yeah, fair.
Or the slow lane, I should say.
Fair play. Yeah, well observed. He could well have had a no damage pit stop originally selected and had to very hurriedly change it.
Oh, we have another driver off. It is Mammoth.
Oh no, that's damage to the car. That's damage to the tail of the car. We can certainly see one of the lights out. It's difficult to judge any more than that, but oh my goodness.
Oh, that is interesting. So I do see damage on the rear as well, but both of the rears are still on for me as he's going off track in double gauche, or Pouhon as many people call it.
It's Condor closing in on Mammoth then, so potential challenge for 8th is coming.
Quickly checking in on the leaders, separated by just 0.2 a second ago. Once again, no room for mistakes, except of course into that corner that we saw earlier. That's a bit of a unique corner because you go slightly deep there. Sure, you've missed the apex, but you can get back on throttle earlier, which is really good for your exit there. So it's a bit of a treasure trove of options there.
Very true. And whilst they're continuing to open the gap to these two, and Gillish has still kept in the tyre tracks of Kaiser, as Condor is still chasing Mammoth.
And you can see as well, I mean, you'd kind of expect Mats to get closer to Ricky in that first sector, as now Mammoth sacrificing the track limits there. Will he be coming in on this lap to fix the damage? Will the pit window be opening soon foremost?
We saw him go wide coming through Pau on a lap ago, so I would think, or maybe he was even this lap, not entirely certain. Does he get? No! I wondered if he had steering damage. Well, he's sticking to his strategy. I would imagine he's just running the fuel tank dry. That is a consideration. If they come in too early, they still won't have enough fuel to make it to the end. So they do need to think about that if they need to make an early stop. So some of those that have been in once may well have to come in again.
Oh, as Gillish has actually managed to overtake Keza now, so that's interesting. I wonder if Keza made some sort of mistake. Or, see, this is interesting. It's into Sector 2 now that we see Gillish leading Keza, which means he probably got the move done in Sector 1. And I was about to mention that about Mats. Whenever we see him at the end of the lap, he's very close to Ricky. And then after La Source, where you'd expect a lot of, well, there are a lot of straights, there's a lot of slipstream, good chance for an overtake, and the gap grows when he's there. So I think Mats is actively fuel saving right now, whereas Gillish and Keza may well be pushing a bit more.
Well, we will see if that tactic pays off. It will generally be towards the end of the race that we'll see that. As we look at JD now, looking at the back of Exus. Now we know that Lamborghini has been in.
And JD as well. These two were the ones involved in that lap 1 incident, and it's actually quite funny that they're both still racing together. So hopefully they keep each other company for the rest of the race. It's not all that fun to have a lonely 90-minute race, as I'm sure we both have experienced before at some point. But Condor there, still behind Mammoth, not quite putting as much pressure on as we may have expected. Warlord, by the way, was only about 1 to 2 seconds behind Keza. That gap has grown to 6 seconds. So maybe a bit of a mistake that we haven't seen, or he's just started to lose pace.
It could well be. As we look at Gillish now, continuing to keep Keza at bay. Now, Keza is the only driver that has finished on the podium in all 3 races we've had in the season. Might this be where that streak ends, or will he be able to overcome Gillish before checking for force? Now, Matt has suddenly fallen to 1.3 seconds behind Ricky. So, has he made a mistake somewhere, or is Ricky getting his foot down a bit more in the Anime Aston? Not certain. Nothing appears to be wrong with Matt's car. So, I mean, if anybody can close that gap down, it is him. And Condor is now in the pits.
Could this be one of the first pit stops we see for actual strategic reasons? As the car does seem to be refueling at this point. He's not the only one in. Bullet Sand follows him in, and that car still seems to be quite fine, at least from what we can see from the rear.
Seems to be. And again, the fuel filler doesn't know where to go. Captain is also in.
Condor back in the Eagle's nest, says Hashiria.
That he is, as we ride on board with JD, who is still chasing Exus. Now, Exus has been in the pits. I'm not 100% sure if JD has. I think
JD has been in the pits. They were both involved in that lap 1 collision.
I don't think... Exus wasn't. It was... was it not Bullet Sand, the other of the Falcon cars that was... It wasn't the Lamborghini, because we saw Exus battling inside the top 8.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to have to give you that one, yeah.
It's not often I'm right, but it does happen on occasion. I try not to make a habit of it.
And I'm glad you're there to correct me, because as I said, I forgot that I wasn't wearing glasses earlier, as it seems that JD's got quite a good exit out already on. I think we're about to see an overtake.
Exus goes to the defensive posture. They're going to run out of track before it's done. It's going to be side by side. Oh, is the Aston going to get the outside line coming into the first part of Lake Calm? Exus is staying in there. Brilliantly driven. Bearing in mind, these cars do snap very suddenly, and well defended by the Lamborghini. A great effort there from Exus, as our lead 2 both come in at the same time. Gillish is in as well, I think, right behind them. He is. Keza has chosen to continue.
Very, very interesting indeed. We'll have to wait and see if the overcut or the undercut is better in this situation. I will say, I said we were about to see an overtake. He might not have gotten the position in the end, but he did briefly overtake them, so it was still an overtake.
Warlord is also in, and Eddie is in, and Xevious is in, so a significant amount of our top 7 have come into the pits then, and Mammoth has chosen to carry on. He's going to jump up into 2nd for the time being. So if you're able to go a little bit longer, it may well affect how much fuel you need to put in when your pit stop happens, or you need to completely top the tank. Then it makes no difference at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually very interesting looking at well, we're currently on lap 13 or 14. Do that times 3 and you get the 39 laps. So are we going to see 3 stops or is it going to be 2 stops?
Well, it'll be 2 stops. So they won't stop on lap 39. Not unless they've done a fuel calculation wrong.
See, that's the thing. We've seen them do that before.
We have. That is very true. Out of the pits comes Mats ahead of Ricky. So shorter stop then for Mats, not by much, but by enough. That could be 1 lap's worth of fuel difference, but that difference could pay off. It could bite one of them. We'll have to see. So Mats comes out ahead of Ricky. Bernd comes out ahead of Gillish. So a long stop then from Gillish in the Maserati.
Well, I think it's more of a very fast stop for Burns because look how close he is to Ricky.
Well, yes, absolutely. A combination of the 2 factors. Warlord is some distance back as well, as Cuckoo and JD are now also in.
CVS exiting just behind Eddie. We've definitely had a grand reshuffle of the order. But I will say I would not want to be Ricky right now because Mats, I mean, sure, he made a small mistake earlier, but now he's got the net lead back. And he just he knows that it's going to be very, very tough for Ricky to actually overtake him. So he just needs to not make any mistakes, and he knows which part of the track to watch out for mistakes now. Because I mean, if I remember correctly, it was in Les Combes, which, as I said, it's fairly easy to lose the rear there sometimes in certain conditions. So if he just pays attention to that specific part of the track, I think he will be set. Kaysen now, his teammate coming in. Mammoth will be following soon, I'm sure.
I would imagine so. As the Star Wars Aston is just coming around Les Combes now. That is Arid that is right behind. Yep, in comes Mammoth. So this will hand the lead over to Matt, but he's once again got his mirrors full of the anime Aston of Ricky.
This is the net fight for the lead. Mats and Ricky, currently 3rd and 4th, are about to re-inherit their positions. Other battles currently ongoing are those for, well, I guess you could say KZ and Mammoth were sort of in a fight there, but this here, the fight for P9 between Eddie and Xevious.
Oh, that's... I saw what he was going for, but he was flirting with the grass. That's a very, very dangerous flirt at absolute full speed coming through Blanchimont. You will spit yourself onto the inside wall if you do that.
That's for sure. As what has happened to Ricky? Why is he behind Bernd now?
He must have made a mistake somewhere. Bernd was only a few seconds behind, but we can only assume that there was a mistake at La Source, or possibly through the bus stop. Now we did see during practice that either practice or qualifying where one of the Astons did indeed boot it too hard coming through the bus stop, so they ended up facing the wrong way. So that is probably what's happened here, as Mammoth is in the pits now. He's just come out of the pits, excuse me. So he comes out in 10th position. Xevious still on the back of Eddie.
Down the Kennel Straight. Used to be a very long and twisty section, but now it's a shorter straight with a very heavy braking zone.
That it is. So ride the curbs through Les Combes, out through Malmedy. There's Ricky on the back of Bernd now, so one mistake has cost Ricky 4 seconds or so from Matt, and that's trying to close that sort of gap in on Matt is going to be a very, very big order. It's certainly doable, but Bernd is quite rightly well within his rights to defend that line. Ricky tries to get the up and under on the Maserati, does manage to wrong foot Bernd, and gets through into second. Well driven from both of them. The Anime Aston back up into second, but 4.5 seconds down from where he was a lap or so ago.
Yeah, that was some tremendous traction from Ricky there. So you can assume that that car has some very fresh tires on it. As who knows, maybe that's why Bernd had such a fast pit stop. Maybe he's still running his original tires. But either way, good move by Ricky. Has now got a 5-second gap to try and delete in front of him. Of course, the time loss was about 3 to 4 seconds. Could have overshot a corner. It might have been a half spin as well. Now, I'm not sure how bad that half spins typically are for tire temperatures, but if you get a full spin in this game, in a lot of cars, you can say ta-ta to your tires. So hopefully that's still in order for him. Seemed to work out quite well in the fight against Bernd. We could see that turn into a three-way fight for third soon, because Keza and Gilish are, I think, approaching Bernd. Let's take a quick look at those lap times. Latest lap for Bernd, a 2:20. I think for Keza, it still has to update because he just recently pitted, so we'll have to wait a little bit for those numbers.
A few 10-second penalties on the board as well. So if we bring up the position board once again, it is Xevious, Eddie, and Captain, all with 10-second penalties. That, I think, is speeding in the pit lane. So they're probably a bit too late getting the pit lane speed limit on, as Andrew has brought the Dodge into the pits once again. This is probably scheduled. That was probably scheduled. Bearing in mind that he came in the first time because he had no rear wing.
Very, very true. So that does put him in the wooden spoon position again. Typically, our P8 merchant cannot be our P18 merchant because there is no P18 in this race. Well, we could have had it, but of course, some people just don't like this track. So.
No venom in that statement at all.
So we do appreciate all our drivers, of course. We do hope that as many show up as possible, because it does make the championship all that more interesting. Even if it's not just for one race, it's going to have an impact on the standings at the very least.
Yeah, very true. Especially if they finish the way they are at the moment. Mats would be the first double winner of the season, and Keza, his first non-podium finish, is certainly going to put a big old dent in his championship lead. As we look at Eddie, that is staring at the back of Xevious.
Those lap times still have not updated. I forget how long these laps are sometimes around here.
Around the kind of 2:15 mark. Ricky has the fastest lap of the race thus far. Oh, and suddenly a second has disappeared. We have a spin. That is Captain. Oh no, that's a rear wing gone. That's a problem down at Speaker's Corner, or No Name Corner, call it as you will. Oh no, our newcomer is gone off somewhere. Bernd is in the pits again.
Oh, is that for damage as well? No, the car seems fine from the rear. Hopefully he hasn't had some sort of issue in the previous pit stop, because this is very odd indeed. That means Kay is now back into the podium positions, fighting it out with Gilish for those rights.
Now
he is feeling.
You did observe that his pit stop was much, much shorter. I wonder if he's taken the gamble on keeping with his tyres, but maybe changed his mind on it and decided that the lack of grip is a bit of a problem. I mean, we won't know unless we have a chance to speak to Bernd, but that will drop him a long way down the field. But Captain, what a shame. Debut race of the season, and alas, he's going to be limping that one home. I mean, what a round to make your debut on an endurance race at Spa. That's quite a bold move. But Captain will be able to continue, but sadly we'll drop him further away from the top 10.
Yeah, and I mean, at the very least, this is sim racing. It's not real life racing, because the original thing you said when you reacted to the crash was, it sounded like a rib to me, and I think if this was a real life crash, a rib may have also have been one of the casualties of that incident. But so far, he's only lost his wing and some bodywork, so a quick trip to the pits will put him back out on track again in fighting condition. Still got Aaron, JD, Bulletside, and Andrew behind him. We're almost at the halfway point of this endurance race.
And there is Arad, just entering the shot. It's always worth continuing, even if you do get the wooden spoon, it's still points, and it's always possible for somebody to make a mistake or somebody else to crash out, so it's always worth continuing. Yeah, I did wonder whether Captain's fan in chat there was going to respond, and sadly so. A great shame, we never want to see it, but that will drop Captain a way down the field, but continue he is still doing, so that is good to see.
I quickly want to point out the lap times here, because that gap between the top two has come down. Matt's last lap, his previous one was a 17 something, now he just set a 16.9, still significantly slower than Ricky, who is setting the track alight with that pace. Keza, though, catching the both of them. If he can keep that up, he may well reach them by the race's end, provided that he doesn't have a very lengthy pit stop after all this.
Absolutely true. As we
I mean,
continue.
you can see he's pulling away from Gillish at this rate as well.
Yeah, very true. I thought Gillish had lost his rear wing then, but it was in the shadow. It was in the shadow, so couldn't quite see it. So right behind Gillish is not position. That right behind Gillish is Captain. Oh, so, that was quick. That was a very quick stop then. A lot of gaffer take then to glue the rear wing back on. So fair play, Captain, getting back out on circuit. And let's see how the rest of your race unfolds. There is JD, the sister car to our former race leader, chasing the back of Arid. So this is a battle for 13th position at the moment. Dodge versus Aston.
Now, I will say one thing that I do find quite interesting about these MSR League races is some people might think, oh, come on, where's all the action gone? But there is still, I mean, we're watching a fight go on right now. A calm moment in a typical MSR race is when there's only one fight going on. But that means there's still a fight going on. Earlier, we had 3 fights at the same time, and that actually makes my job as a cameraman a bit more difficult. But, the fact that we're almost halfway through this crazy endurance race now, and we still have active fights going on, is amazing. We haven't had a single lap without any battles.
Very true indeed. And now the gap, our lead gap was just this moment ducked back under 3 seconds, as JD gets a good exit from the top of from Radeon. Both of those cars are reshaped on the front, and Arid doesn't really put up a fight on that one. You know who you're in a fight with. You know who's really quicker than you. And Arid lets that one go. So JD back up into 13th.
They continue on through Sector 2. I'm very curious about Matt's next lap time because that gap continues to come down. Is Matt's just playing it safe, or does Ricky actually have the pace on him here?
I'm more inclined to believe the former rather than the latter. It could be that Mats is more comfortable in the daylight hours, although the sun is beginning to rise, so the darkness is receding. Let's have a look at what the lap times are showing. It was a 16.9 last time. It's a 16.5 for Mats this time, but a 15.9 for Ricky, and again a 16.3 for Kaiser, so he's keeping his foot down. Matt's going for fuel saving. We were wondering that, Shidia. We did wonder if that was the case, and that wouldn't be a surprise if he's trying to eke out the fuel to make his last stop that bit shorter, or he's trying to go to the end. I don't know that. I can't imagine that the fuel tank is big enough to go to the end. I've got to think that at least one more stop for everybody.
Keep in mind as well, the only drivers to set laps in the 15s in this race are Mats and Ricky. They are each other's rivals tonight, and I don't think anyone else will be interfering with them. Keza continues to pull away from Gillish, but it's simply not enough to join this fight for the lead.
Nothing motivates you more as a driver than seeing your prey, seeing the car you are chasing. And that is exactly what Ricky's going to be focused on as we continue to watch. Matt, who is that he's catching up to? It's one of the, I think it might be Andrew. It is, yes. It's the question mark Dodge that is going to become very popular very quickly. Now, again, fair play. Andrew's hands must be absolutely burning by now, but he's still giving it a go. He's still hanging on in there. Fair play to you. He's not going to get in the way of the lead battle coming up to him.
See, it is interesting, though, because he said after quali that his hand was already bugging him.
Yeah.
Now, I have no doubt that it is, but typically, when you're in like good conditions, you can actually race for a lot longer, I think, on a controller compared to a wheel, simply because of how much less physical it is. And you can see Matt's there thanking him. Not just Matt's, Ricky as well, thanking Andrew for getting out of the way, not interfering with that lead fight. But yeah, so in decent conditions, the controller is a lot less taxing on your body because, of course, you're still moving muscles, but just not quite as many and not as intensely. So you could probably keep it going for a little bit longer. But in Andrew's case, he is fighting this car quite a bit. He does not have the optimal settings. So yeah, he is constantly going to be struggling, and doing so for a good 90 minutes will definitely not make your fingers like you very much.
Fennec joins us in chat. Good to see Fennec. Shame we're not seeing you on track, but he does indeed point out that given that one stops have only just been possible in the 1 hour races, the 1.5 hour ones, it's got to be at least 2 stop, possibly with a splash and dash at the end. Good to see you in chat, sir. Shame we're not seeing you trackside. But thank you for that confirmation nonetheless, as we ride on board with Mammoth, who has been chasing Eddie what feels like all race long, but this time it's for 8th. They were chasing each other for 7th before. Xevious has that, who is looking at the back of Exus in the Lamborghini up into 6th. So this is...
2 X's again.
Yes, the X's is again the other way around and further up the field. So have they had short stops compared to the rest?
And, I mean, I said it before, we're about to have 3 ongoing battles again. We're going to have to pick and choose.
Very true, yeah.
I think Exus here currently under the most pressure. You mentioned as well, nothing motivates you more than seeing your prey. One thing that I really enjoyed about the previous game that we ran this league on was, oh, hold on. That's just a very easy overtake there for Xevious. Exus miscalculating his way into Sector 3, but I think he's got plenty of straight line speed to keep this fight going.
Yeah, a little bit too deep there, coming into Stavilo, and that opened the door for CVS. He did not need a second invitation at that, and 6th was stolen away, although a bit deep coming through Blanchimont there. You can't be doing that too often.
Yeah, as they navigate that tricky old bus stop, no chances yet for Exus. The gap between the leaders now down to 1.21 seconds.
We see a pair of battles that could well merge to be one. That's Mammoth having a look on the inside of Eddie again. Very close from that camera shot, but into the pits I saw that's Exus coming in again. So for his final stop, or his final planned stop anyway, as we are, that's still 18 laps. It's still a distance to go. 39 split into 3. That's 13 laps apiece. So, oh, that's going to be a challenge for Exus.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that my hypothesis is supported by Fennec. We may well see some drivers having 3 fuel stops. I mean, sometimes it's not even a miscalculation. Some of these cars are just really, really bad at fuel conservation or fuel efficiency, and end up being a bit more gas guzzling than other cars. That's another guy off there. That is Eddie. Cost him P7.
Yeah, the tail just got a little bit light. I think he locked up the rears, or it just went in too deep. I think he locked up the wheels a bit coming into Rivage, and Mammoth is not someone that needs a second invitation there, as Ricky is nearly under a second behind Matt, who's done a 17.1. So Ricky's really pushing to close that gap in, and Kaiser is pushing quite hard as well. That gap is been eroded away. So what does...
I think Hayes has been closing the gap to Matt, but not quite to Ricky. They've been advancing towards Matt at a fairly similar rate of knots, but it's still a sizable gap of about 10 seconds to the lead. So unless Ricky can somehow take an almighty fight to Matt and not just overtake him, I think Kaiser will still have a tough time of catching up to them, though he really has pulled away from Gillish now. That's a 6-second gap to 4th. But realistically, I think even if Ricky gets to Matt might just want to do another bit of fuel saving stint again.
That's gonna be the big question mark, isn't it? Is fuel management, as any endurance race is. There's that gap, and now almost under. It's almost staying under a second now, as that's Condor that's gone too deep into the bus stop, and Cuckoo is drawing alongside the Maserati. How's this going to play out then? Cuckoo couldn't quite get the traction where he wanted it. He's going to try and throw it on the inside of the source. And draws alongside. Plenty of racing room given. They're still side by side though. Cuckoo and Condor. And they remain where they are. Exus is right behind them. But he is not on the same lap as the Maserati, as Bullet Sand. In the second of the Falcon cars. I think the Falcon cars are going to be close together. Oh no, sorry, Bullet Sand is the Falcon car that is behind them. So I saw the Falcon colours, and I thought it was Exus. So Cuckoo gets a good exit from Radion. Does he get the move done? No, that's Condor getting the inside line, coming up into Lecom. The Corvette is ahead, coming to the second apex. And the Maserati's still there. So brilliant racing room given by the pair of them. But Condor has had to succeed. Wrong word. He's had to let that one go. And Cuckoo up into 9th.
Yeah, I'd say losing a position to a rival is the opposite of succeeding in most people's books. But unless he's racing for charity, then I could absolutely understand that. Meanwhile, the top two, less than a second separating them now, is just half a second. A little bit earlier in the lap. I think we may well be seeing some attempts soon, or at the very least, some movements from Ricky to let Mats know that he is, in fact, right there.
Aaron is in. So brings in the cream-coloured Dodge. There is Eddie, as he is looking at the back of his teammate once again. And so it's Cuckoo, this Mammoth teammate. No, ignore that statement entirely. So Eddie trying to chase down Mammoth, who in turn is still looking at the back of Xevious. So
did you hear that engine noise? That was very calmly into the bus stop there.
I did, yes. Any of these three... wrong pit lane entry. We've only been doing this for 20-odd laps. It's amazing.
Who's that going backwards?
Is that Condor?
It's Captain.
Oh, it's Captain. Oh, no. Oh, that's gone over the wall. Oh, he tried to spin it, but couldn't get the rear wheels to spin. Don't reverse. Don't keep reversing. Oh, no. I mean, the only saving grace for Captain, he's right by the pit lane entry. No, I was going to say. Oh, no, Captain. His maiden race not going well. He's followed in by Bullet Sound. So 14, 15, 16, they're all in the pits.
I mean, it's a very weird place to have a spin there right before La Source. I can only imagine that he got a bit squirrely coming out of the bus stop and then maybe had a bit of a fishtailing session, corrected left, corrected right, until he eventually did spin on the straight bit. But yeah, unfortunately not able to do a flick spin there. You really need the right revs to do it. If they're too low, then your car will actually get too much traction for something like that. So very unfortunate for Captain. Maybe a bit of hope for Andrew. Who knows?
Well, we will have to see. As Captain, again, he's back. He's got the best pit crew of everybody. He's back on the road again. Great effort there.
You are getting a lot of practice.
That is also true. As the leading Astons come through the bus stop once again. Now, is this going to make a Ricky slow down or Matt speed up? We will see. But if Matt has been able to fuel save that long, that is really going to pay dividends for him in their final stops, which is probably going to be around about 5 laps time as we ride on the nose now of the Anime Aston of Ricky in the tyre tracks.
Very, very close. How much speed can he keep through a Rouge and Radiant?
A little bit of a lift coming through.
Matt's lifted harder.
He did. A bit of slipstream then for Ricky. This should be fairly straightforward. Yeah, you see Matt does not go for that defensive line. He knows that one was coming. And back up into the lead for the time being. Ricky goes, but is that going to... Has he pushed too hard? Will that undo itself, or has he done what he needs to do? As they closing in on Bullet Sand, the sun now very much in the air.
See now, Mats and Keza, they are both fighting for their own championships. If they had a team principal, I'd have to imagine that one thought that might pop into his mind is to tell Mats to fight like hell to keep Ricky behind him, because it might potentially risk Mats' chances of a victory, but it would increase their team's chances of getting a 1-2, because as things stand, Keza does not have that much of a hope of catching up to them. But if Mats were able to hold up Ricky enough, that could actually gain them some points in the team standings.
Very true. Oh, was that was a bit deep there for Ricky coming into the final chicane. Oh, Mats is starting to look a bit racy now. So has he decided to deploy the right foot a bit more to try and regain the lead? But he could well be pushing because he's coming in this time around. We'll have to see what he chooses to do.
Bullet Sand just ahead as well.
minding his own business. You can see Ricky keep making sure to make that Aston as wide as possible. Into the bus stop once again. That's Condor into the pits following his incident. Plenty of opposite lock. Turning left into a right-hander. That's probably how everybody has been doing that, because these cars just dump all their torque at once into the road, and that is a very slow corner with a lot of horses trying to get down to the tarmac.
It is interesting, though, to see how smooth Mats is applying the throttle and even the steering. We are seeing some opposite lock, but it's not all that extreme, so I think he's doing a lot to keep his tires in a good condition, as I think that's Condor now coming out of the pits, and these two will most certainly be overtaking Bullet Sand on the straight. Bullet Sand now about half a minute ahead of Andrew.
Well, Bullet Sand's going to have... Yeah, I was going to say Bullet Sand's going to have to brake here, otherwise he's going to get in the way of both of our lead Astons, as the gap has now increased between these two and Kaiser in third. It was under 10 seconds. It's now over that. Oh, that's Xevious and Mammoth side by side. Coming through La Source. Oh, both of them getting a bit squiggly on the way down the hill. Who's going to be nose ahead by the time they hit Eau Rouge? Neither of them are wanting to give any headway, but I think Mammoth backed out of that. He didn't fancy going side by side through Eau Rouge, but he's got the exit coming out of Radio. Great effort there in the Star Wars Aston Martin, side by side, but insane. Oh, that's Andrew. The sisters question mark dodge. Now he's either just slowing down or he's had another incident. I'm not sure what he was going to do, but that's right the outside. Oh no, it's a spin! That's a spin for Mammoth. I didn't see that. I don't think there was impact between the two. I think he just locked up the rears coming into Lake Com, and by the fact that Andrew's back up to speed, I think he was getting out of people's way as he was losing a lap on them.
Fair play to Andrew there. I think that was indeed just a mistake by Mammoth, that rear wing giving up on him almost again in that corner. I wonder if his tires are starting to give up the ghost. It's definitely getting a bit warmer again out there on track with the sunlight returning. But yeah, that was a nice 360, and I'm very glad that Eddie was able to dive down the inside without T-boning Mammoth.
Yeah, very good point. So, our lead pair are at it again. It's not even half a second between the pair of them. Everybody knows what the Kemmel Straight is like when you are the defending driver.
And look at that as well. Bullet Sand's a back marker who's been lapped, but he's keeping up pace with these two.
Well, that's going to pull Bullet Sand more towards Captain if he can stay in their tyre tracks.
Absolutely. We get the gap about 23 seconds between them. If anything happens to Captain, which it has multiple times this race, that could well be another position swap for 15th place. Matt's now, is he going to try and go for it, or will he stay behind?
Yeah, he backed out of that. He didn't fancy trying to go side by side into Lake Com. There's still 13 and a bit laps to go, so I'm expecting to see another round of pit stops around about now. We've had quite a few cars already in that are pitting out of sequence to the rest. I would think we'll see the main bulk of the pit stops happen now. It's just a bit deep for Mats there. Access.
The other Anime Aston also currently under pressure
by our Falcon Lamborghini. Access then wanted to try and make his way back up inside the top 10. A little bit uncomfortable in the braking zone of the Fan Chicane. Cuckoo is in the Star Wars Corvette.
I really have to say, though, I did expect people to be fighting their cars a bit more. Overall, it seems relatively relaxed, except for poor Andrew back there. But lap 25 now of 39. We are reaching the final stages of this race, but it's nowhere near over yet, entirely. That was a mess of a sentence.
I've made plenty of them in this broadcast alone, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Hold on. That was... If the Delta is to be believed, we just missed a side-by-side moment between Ricky and Mats. Mats still, though, not sending it into the bus stop.
Oh, unless there was a lock-up there.
Unless Ricky makes a big mistake or is losing pace dramatically, I think Mats will be staying behind no matter what. And the thing is, as well, when you're Ricky in this case, and you see Matt's clearly not putting in any effort to overtake you, on the one hand, you're going to be relieved because it's less fighting for you, less things to worry about. On the other hand, as they both come in at the same time again, you kind of feel used as well because you know that you're giving the opponent slipstream. You're letting them save fuel.
But that's the nature of the beast, particularly here in Spa. You know what the racing is like. Kaiser and Gillish are all in at the same time. This is exactly what I was expecting to happen. A flurry of pit stops at this point. Oops, and that's excess rounds. Oh no, we were just talking about his battle with JD, and he's made a mistake up at Les Combes.
Yeah, I think he's just barely kept it out of the wall, so might need some new tires after that, but his next pit stop will be coming soon, I'm sure.
And potentially new underpants, depending on how close it was to the wall. Warlord is in, and Xevious is in, and Eddie is in. So our top 7 are all into the pits as Cuckoo is staring at the back. Well, he's staring at the back of Bullet Sand, but that's not a position. Really, Bullet Sand needs to be getting out of that because Cuckoo is 12th, he is 16th. Mammoth, again, as he did before, has chosen to continue. So he's putting out a sequence to the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if that whole big main group of drivers, if they're locked into a 3-stop or if they'll manage to salvage a 2-stopper. We do know that...
Gillish has leapfrogged all of them.
Ooh.
By a distance. There is...
That he has. And look as well between Mats and Ricky. We saw Mats gain a bit of time in the pits last time. It's even more dramatic on the second attempt.
Well, that's probably as a result of the fuel saving that Mats was doing. But Gillish, where's that come from? He's 6 seconds ahead of Mats.
See, Gillish is a driver that's always quite interesting with what he does in the pit lane. We've seen him take a pit stop less than everyone else before in some races, which definitely led to the very exciting races. But in this case, he now has a, let's see, that's a 5.5 second gap to Mats behind. Ricky may well catch Mats again like we saw earlier. So by the end of this race, we might actually have a 3-way fight for the lead because Mammoth still has to come in.
Mammoth does indeed still have to come in, so he'll drop down to around about 8th or so. There is Condor, who is looking at the back of Exus. The Scuderia Maserati looking at the back of the Falcon Lamborghini. Up and over Radion once more. JD is in. As Mats is looking at the back of, that is Ared in the cream coloured Dodge.
Yeah, this is a lapped car, so Mats will be getting his making his way through very swiftly, I imagine.
Indeed so. And that puts so that fuel saving that Matt seemed to be doing is giving him a 4 second advantage over Ricky. There is Ared, he's getting out of the way, nicely done.
I'd say he's arguably still on the racing line, so that probably did annoy Mats a little bit. Dirtier and Blanchimont as well, not entirely ideal as Mammoth now coming in to the pits. Gillish will inherit that lead, and we'll have to wait and see how much of that gap he can maintain.
Time will tell. So this is where the strategies all start to come together. This is where whether your gambles or your calculations are proven or disproven, depending on how well it's gone. There we see the 2 Falcon cars in the same shot, if not on the same lap. But Condor very much pressuring Exus for 11th position.
Yeah, Exus no longer fighting. I believe it was it Eddie before? So he's switched sparring partners for the time being. As Barrett's now coming in again as well. It's really unfortunate. We thought he might be fighting for a podium after a surprise moment after the first stint, but now down in 6th and dropping.
Yeah, that's I think 3 or 4 times that Ben has potentially been in. So he seems to be racking up the pit stop counter. It's somewhat unfortunate. But I tell you what, that gap between Mats and Gillish is really, really disintegrating. Oh, Andrew, that could be scheduled though, because bearing in mind he has had to pit out sequence to everybody else, but he's still going. Fair play to you.
Yeah, I put the camera on him because I think his pit stop lasted a bit longer than you might expect. So potentially fixing damage and coming in for a scheduled stop at the same time. Either way, there's about well, it looks like there's 13 laps left to go for him, but the leaders are on lap 28. So I think that will be his last planned pit stop.
I would imagine so. Yes, Gillish is losing time hand over fist to Matt. Also, the last lap time is showing with pit stops involved, but looking at the delta on the tower, that gap is just disintegrating, and also Ricky is really falling off the back of that pace. Kaiser is closing in fast.
Yeah, so that's interesting as well. Ricky swapping the Moisty Boys Aston there. Well, they all have Moisty Boys on them in some shape or form, but yeah, that's swapping teammates there for their fight. Yeah. They're all very close to each other now. The entire top four within just 8.5 seconds. That is not what I was expecting to see in the final stage of this race. No, indeed.
This is going to be fascinating to see how the final 11 laps unfold. As we see Kaiser trying his best to close in. Right, so 2:18.9 for Gillish, a 2:17.7, 1.2 second difference between Gillish and Mats. That's why that gap has just disintegrated. But a 16.5 and a 16.2 for Ricky and Kaiser. They could still get involved in this race. Well, they are involved in the race. They could still get involved for those top spots as yet. It really depends on Matt and Gillish, really, to see if they're going to fight or whether that gap continues to drop, as Condor has got his teammate, that's Captain, in between himself and the car he's chasing of Exus.
Yeah, maybe feeding him a bit of slipstream down this very short straight as he's now backing off, letting Condor go into the final corner unopposed. And the gap now between the top four, it's come down by another second, and it's only been another sector, so rapidly evolving situation in the front. Gillish definitely the one losing more time.
And under 2 seconds between our top two then. And Eddie, wow, really getting out of the throttle very, very early. Is he doing some fuel saving in this final stint when he's chasing Mammoth?
He is catching him, I think.
It did seem like he came off the gas quite early. There is Gillish. That is the sister anime Aston, the reshaping one of JD. But Gillish will be very aware that Bird is in the pits again.
Oh, that's massively unfortunate. That's going to cost him even more points as Star Fox goes to bed. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for coming along, Galax. Your presence is always welcome, sir. But yeah, that is a shame for Bern. That's got to be about 5 stops he's doing. He's doing the Pokemon strategy. He's got to catch them all.
See, one of the things that I do enjoy about Gillish's strategy shenanigans is the most significant case of that I can remember is when he genuinely did a pit stop less than everyone else. And it meant that he had to drive incredibly slowly, of course, because he was saving a ton of fuel. And it meant that there was constantly someone catching him, and I believe that was for the lead as well. And now he's done the same thing, but probably for tires. So we will once again be seeing an inevitable showdown here in these next 9 laps, and Mats is now right on his tail.
And Gillish has now got Bernd right in front after Bernd's come out of the pits yet again. Oh, there's a spin. That is Condor that's had a spin. I can see coming out of Stavilo. Oh, that's not steering. Oh, dear. It wasn't steering straight and has very much been reshapen on the nose. So, oh, that's not happy. That's not happy at all. So that's going to be another pit stop visit then for Condor.
At least he hasn't impeded anyone with that. Track behind quite open indeed. Nearest car, Exus, but nowhere near close enough to really do much about that at the moment. But you can see now, no more back markers between the top two. Just still one right ahead of Gillish.
It seems a bit inevitable. Wow, Matt's not even waiting for a braking zone as the Maserati gets very much out of the way. But there's no gap now between Mats and Gillish, but look at the gap to Ricky. That is absolutely disintegrating. And right with him is Kaiser as well. So we have got, well, potentially a four-way fight for the lead. Now, does Gillish have any tyres left? Oh, both of them flirting with the grass coming through Blanchimont. That's not Ricky, that's JD that is right behind. There is Ricky and Kaiser as well, closing in at an alarming rate of knots. Gillish is going to try and defend, but I think Kaiser's going to have, Matt's going to have the traction. Oh, me of little faith. The Maserati is fending off all the pressure in the world. The top four are all in this shot. Mats has a look on the inside. Gillish doesn't fight it. He lets the Lemon Aston through. JD is kind of in no man's land there, as Bernd is trying to mind his own business. Look at that. The top four after 30 laps here at Spa are less than 3 seconds apart.
Yeah, that was very interesting. He did not defend the inside into the final corner, as that is again not Ricky. It's lapped JD, maybe about to re-overtake there, as he can do so when it's safe, but they are still involved in a fight for the lead. Again, I was surprised he didn't defend the inside line. Maybe he thought there would be a guaranteed overtake on the next straight anyway, so he decided to just benefit from Mats' slipstream, but definitely gave away that lead position and a potential hope to hold on to P3 or 4, which are rapidly approaching right behind.
JD, you need to get out of the way. You very much what does not belong here, and that is the front of these two anime Aston Martins. Oh, JD's still in 10th, don't get me wrong. He's had a decent enough race, but he's just stuck in this position.
He's unlapping himself.
As Gillish is in trouble, he's gone wide. Oh, there might be words said about that. You are allowed to unlap yourself as long as you don't impede the car you are unlapping yourself from, but Gillish may well feel aggrieved by that, as JD was just in the wrong place there.
And now he's impeding his teammate.
And, well, yeah, oh dear. Oh dear, and he's tried to cut back behind. There's no room there for him to do. He tried to split the two Astons, but Kaiser was having none of that. Well, do Ricky and Kaiser have enough pace? They've got enough time, but do they have enough pace to close in on Mats? Three-way fight for the lead.
Aston v Aston v Aston, and I can tell you, I'm also not all that impressed by what JD pulled on that lap, so we may well see stewards' inquiries for that one. I mean, it seemed like, he definitely still got a bit in the way of his teammate, but when he did let Ricky through, it did seem like he then tried to get in Kay's way, despite Kay's being glued to the bumper of Ricky. So I think that definitely shows some intentionality there, but of course that will be at the steward's discretion later. Now the fight for the lead, separated by just 1.7 seconds. I do not see Mats driving away from this. I think we have a very, very good fight for the lead on our hands.
Gillish has fallen very much out of this. I think his tyre strategy may well be backfiring on him. Either way though, the top three all with pretty much identical strategies here. Here comes Kaiser. Good exit from Radion. He's going to draw alongside Ricky. And is he going to be able to win out on this one coming into Lecom? He'll have the first of the inside apexes, and he does. The Lemon Astons are reunited at the top of the tree for now. JD staying in the tyre tracks of the podium 3. Now, how hard is Kaiser going to push to gain on Mats? Is he going to try and get the... Oh, he's gone too deep! He's made a mistake. He got up into second, was a tiny bit too deep. You saw how hard Kaiser had to fight to keep the car under control. Brilliantly driven, well recovered, but that did put Ricky right under his tail.
Yeah, it's just... It is very easy to go just slightly too deep into that corner, but luckily for Kaiser, he's kept his position now. So far, it looks like he may well be en route to win the title again just by getting consistent podium finishes. He's currently got only his teammate now ahead of him, but I can assure you he wants that P1 glory. I don't think he's going to hold back against Mats.
Well, time will tell on that one. He's, like you say, he's well on his way to securing the title. It's Kaiser, but we still have half the season to go. Anything can happen in that time. Also, there's one other caveat to the drop score rule. If you are consistently scoring high, it means you do get to a point where you can only score a couple of points from a win. So it's not inconceivable that Kaiser might be in that kind of position. We will have to see how that transpires. It looked a little bit uncomfortable coming into the bus stop, but Ricky wasn't really able to capitalize on that. As this is incredible. I'm loving this. Captain in the pits again, along with Andrew. So potentially unscheduled pit stops for our back two runners, but still all 17 cars running.
Now, what is interesting as well is it appears that Keza, I mean, he's holding on to Mats, but I don't quite think he's catching him like Ricky was earlier. So we'll have to wait and see if he's able to, or if Ricky now can re-overtake Keza. Keza just got a little bit squirrely with that grass in Radion. I didn't even know there was grass there, but he's shown us that there is, as they're now 3 wide with Andrew letting them through on the straight.
Oh, it's going to be bold from Ricky if he tries that, but doesn't get the overlap. Keza remains where he is. Ricky's really pushing here. He's trying to make as much of a nuisance of himself. Oh, it gets a bit squiggly coming out of Malmedy, but manages to keep it on the road. He is pressing hard. He doesn't want Mats to run off into the distance, whereas Keza is having to defend. Whether Keza's got his eye on the win or not, he is having to defend very, very hard from the Anime Aston. And the longer this goes on for, the less time Ricky has to try and close in on Mats. So Ricky really wants to get this move done, but Keza's having none of it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is as well, Ricky is running at a very, very precious time to fight for the lead, because even if you manage to close that gap to Mats, you still have to overtake the guy, and he's not really seemed to be making all that many mistakes at all tonight. We've seen him make one mistake when Ricky was right behind him earlier, and I think that's going to be Ricky's main way of fighting this. He wants to be behind Mats as much as possible right now to put as much pressure on him to try and get him into a mistake, but Keza is preventing all of that.
That he is. We will see if he's able to maintain that position, or whether, again, they love to flirt with the grass on the edge. Oh, there's a mistake! Oh, and I wondered if Ricky was going to banzai the inside of the bus stop. Exactly as I said wouldn't happen earlier on, but we've seen people do it. Oops, bit of a nudge between the two Astons. I think that was a tiny mistake from Keza there, but Ricky did not have, or did not utilize that overspeed there. May well have just not been expecting it coming into the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate place for Ricky to see Keza make a mistake, and the modern bus stop that would be an opportunity for an overtake. Not back in 2005, however.
Bullets hand in the pits again, unfortunately, and that little break in momentum for Ricky has cost him about half a second.
Just quickly checking in on Gillish's lap time at 2:19.9. He is one of the slowest, or he is the slowest driver in the top 10 at the moment, so it would have been a hard fight to maintain these positions anyway, but I do think he's still in a pretty good spot to keep P4 from Warlord. He's just too far back.
I would agree with that. It's great saying. It was great to see Gillish right up there and challenging for at least a podium. Oh, and that's deep! You saw there was counter steering going on for Keza. Tiny tap there for Ricky, but he manages to hold on to that one. Yeah, Keza again went in a bit too deep. You saw he had to counter steer coming through Rivage, but it was not to Ricky's benefit. He's had nowhere to go, but all three of them live to fight another day. Mats just needs to keep it on the black stuff at this stage, as the two behind him are fighting that hard. Arad is in the pits again.
Yeah, it's very frustrating for.
We have Eddie has stopped.
Ooh,
Eddie has stopped. No, he's going. Oh, and that's as we were looking at that, Keza has gone off the road. He went in too deep, going into Stavelo. Eddie was stationary at the top of Eau Rouge, at the top of Radion.
That is quite special, because usually if you're at a standstill on that part of the track, your car is in absolute smithereens, and his seems to be a little scuffed up, but I don't think there's going to be all that much aero damage on it.
It seems to look the right shape. Let's ride on board to see if he's crabbing. Difficult to tell mid-corner. I got you. No, that's dead straight. So, well, lucky boy there. I saw the yellow on the map, and I realised it was Eddie that was stationary.
Yeah, see, the thing is, as soon as you said that, I looked for a stationary car on the minimap, and then I said P14, but that was arid in the pits, so I was looking at the wrong part of the track there.
Wow, you were close.
Wrong, but, yeah. But,
wow.
Ricky now only has 4 laps left to try and recoup those 3.5 seconds. I think Keza well and truly out of this fight now. His dirty tires have almost brought him back into the clutches of Ricky's teammate JD in 10th.
And that is Kaiser that we are looking at the back of. So JD shouldn't really be getting involved here, but is using the slipstream. But you can see on the minimap how far ahead Eddie is, even despite Eddie's spin. That is half a lap difference, which here in Spa is a damn long time. And that's Condor and Exus arguing for 12th position. The Maserati
getting a better exit out of the bus stop, and overtake is his.
The Lamborghini ahead of the wounded Maserati. You can see yellow on the flag, but I didn't see anybody stationary in there, so there could have been someone going a bit wide, potentially Cuckoo. Not certain how that one played out, but the battle for 12th at the moment in the Falcon coloured Lamborghini.
Ricky has already shaved off almost a full second from the gap to Mats. It's looking optimistic, I'd say, for the final few laps.
It really depends if Mats is having to do any fuel saving, but bear in mind that Mats and Ricky came in the pits at the same time. They're both in the same hardware, not running the same setup, obviously, but yeah, they're both in Astons. They both have the same fuel tank, so you would assume they're running the same fuel map. So fuel shouldn't be much of a difference between the pair of them, unless Ricky's just throwing caution to the wind.
Yeah, we have seen Ricky pushing more than Mats so far this race. And as soon as I say that, that's a curse. Mats off track, but he's managed to save it. The gap now down to 1.3 seconds.
He did save it, but that's cost him a lot of time. Ricky now very much in the mixture, and also Kaiser. There is the 2 Lemon Astons in the same shot again, so that mistake from Kaiser is certainly cost him, but it's not out of the running yet. If anything can happen in these last few laps.
And we're getting new lap times here. Let's take a quick look at them. Mats obviously with his mistake at 2:18.4. Keza only 0.2 slower than Ricky, so not catching Ricky, but if Ricky's catching Mats, then Keza is as well.
Yeah, absolutely so. And if Mats and Ricky start fighting, as I imagine they will, it could well bring Keza in even further.
To go on board with Ricky, fighting for the win. I don't recall Ricky having won a race so far this season. Am I correct in that?
You are indeed correct. He was second at Yukari Pergola, 14th in Hockenheim, and 7th last time out in Virginia.
So a very good chance here for Ricky. We've seen different winners in every race so far. Mats could break that trend tonight. 1 second the difference.
Indeed, with 3.5 laps to go. Oh, again, that's another mistake from our race leader. And that's helping Ricky come in. That gap now completely slashed. Now, has Mats burnt the best out of his tyres, or is fatigue kicking in? Either or, as those little mistakes, which are very uncharacteristic of Mats. He didn't have a good race in Hockenheim. Did Mats? He was 6th at Yukari Pergola, 12th at Hockenheim, but was our race winner, as mentioned last time out in Virginia. But Ricky, as he can smell blood in the water, and is now locked in the slipstream of Mats again. Oh, this is fantastic. You know, nearly 38 laps of racing. Oh, that's going to be deep, but should be okay for Mats. For Ricky's got the run. Nowhere to use that pace, though. There's enough time for Ricky to make the move, but equally, there's enough time for Mats. As long as he's got the tyres, he can defend against the ever-persistent Anime Aston.
See, that's the interesting thing, though. Mats earlier was only making a mistake under pressure. I mean, we only saw him make one mistake, and it was one that was under pressure. Now we've seen him make 2 mistakes, both with still a reasonable gap behind him. So those are mistakes that he made completely on his own. And I think that is going to give Ricky a lot of hope in these final 3 laps.
Through Eau Rouge, up and over Radion once again. Oh, don't know if get uncomfortable when they bounce over the curb at the top. Now Ricky is too far back to make a move this time. Oh, and that's Cuckoo on the back of Xevious. Yes, it is. Oh, commentator curse. As soon as I mentioned Xevious' name, just... Oh, that is heavily, heavily damaged. He just lost the tail on the traction coming out of Stabilo. And that is going to plummet Xevious in the dying stages of the race as well. There's also something else to bear in mind. If anybody has to do a bit of a splash and dash, we won't know that until such time as they end up pitting. But it could well be that the fuel gauge, Russian roulette with the fuel gauge bites some people. At the moment, Ricky and Matt are not showing any sign of having to fuel save.
I will say, what happened to Xevious there, I absolutely hate it when that happens, because he was practically out of that corner already. And then at the very, very end of the traction zone, the car just completely loses it and sends him into the barrier, ruining his race, essentially. So that's just really unfortunate. I feel quite bad for him.
Shearer saying he's met Barry R. Yep, I'm very familiar with a lot of Barry R's in my sim racing lifetime. Riding on the roof of the Anime Aston as Xevious has made it back to the pits. He'll be cursing himself for that. It's through Blanchimont once again. Slightly different lines.
For Xevious, I think he might manage to salvage maybe just 1 or 2 positions there. It's fairly big gaps behind him, so he's well, at least he didn't have a whole train behind him.
True enough. As we come towards La Source, we'll be starting our penultimate race lap this time around. Oh, is that deep for the race leader? Nowhere Ricky could use that momentum, but that's going to get him very much in the slipstream of the Lerman Aston. 2 laps to go.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Last time that we saw this exact same scenario, it was an easy overtake for Ricky, though we know Mats was fuel saving, so will he still fuel save with just 2 laps left to go? I kind of doubt it.
I kind of doubt it as well. Is Mats going to go to the defensive posture? Yes, he does. He's feeling the pressure now. You saw that defensive motion there. Didn't particularly need to do it, but he's making his attention known. Oh, the tail's getting lively for Mats, and you saw that he's had to really fight to keep the car under control. Ricky, he was a little bit too eager on the gas coming out of Normandy. That was it's a big move to try that. Oh, Ricky had to get out of that. Mats was a bit slower than he was expecting coming into Rivage. Oh my goodness me, it's possibly getting a bit scrappy for Mats. Could Ricky manage to wrestle the win away and be our 4th winner of the season, or will Mats be our first double winner? It could go either way.
And despite all of this scrapping, I think they're still pulling away from Keza, so it's not turning into a 3-way fight anytime soon, as Ricky has his own taste of gravel now.
Yeah, tiny mistake there, a little bit too quick coming through Puon. Whether that was aero wash from the back of Matt's car or whether he was just too keen on the gas. Here again, you saw a snap of oversteer from Matt's car. Oh my goodness, this could go either way. We've seen how quickly these cars let go. So you really don't know. Until that checkered flag falls, it could go to either of them.
Yeah, regardless which one of them wins, you know they absolutely fought for it tonight, as we're entering the final lap in just 2 corners time. Well, 3 corners, I suppose, on this layout.
Oh, that looked a little bit wide there coming out of Blanchimont. And look how defensive Mats is going. He's really feeling the pressure. It's going to wrong foot him coming through the bus stop. But Ricky's not going to have an opportunity here. He didn't get as much attraction as he would have liked. Also, we're going to be starting our final lap through La Source for the penultimate time. Look at that. Look how defensive Mats is going. Now, Ricky, is he going to try an up and under on Mats? No, I think he's going to hold back slightly for an attempt up until Lake Calm. Final lap here in Spa.
This is the closest we've ever seen them when they're both pushing.
Yeah. This is what Ricky wants. He wants to stay under the rear wing, but that's a really good run up and over Radion for Matt. Has that given him enough car length to keep the Anime Aston behind? It may well have done. Ricky is not closing in enough to try and challenge into Lake Army. As a look at, he's going to try and now break Matt. Can't do it, but he has wrong-footed him. He's forced a mistake. He's going to go side by side all the way up to Normandy. No, Ricky backs out of it. He's now going to try an up and under as on the way down to Rivage. Oh my goodness, Mats had to shut the door, but that's put him offline slightly. Can Ricky make an advantage of it? He's going to get alongside as they get down towards No Name. No, Ricky noses ahead. Oh my God, and he gets shoved off the road. My goodness me, Ricky has nose ahead, but they're still side by side. Down to Puon. Now the inside line belongs to Maz. Oh no, there's impact between them. They've both gone off. Oh my goodness. Ricky has kept it going. Maz is facing the wrong way, but where's Kaiser? He's gone through. Ultimate Kaiser has stolen away the lead. He could be our 4th winner of the season.
Oh my word. I mean, for one, I have no hearing left after any of that. I mean, tremendous commentary, but that action, I was not expecting that. Ricky, with a good recovery out of the gravel, still was not enough to stay ahead of Kaiser. Mats, I'm sure, will be absolutely fuming in P3 now. I
dare say, and my apologies to everybody, that was in the red line in OBS constantly. So yeah, I'll make my apologies now, but Kaiser, just by being in the right place at the right time, has stolen away the lead. Well, he was there in the right place, but it was somewhat gifted to him. He won't mind. He will be our 4th winner of the season unless he somehow bins it now.
He has a penalty? No penalty.
No penalty for our top runners. Yes, Kaiser P1 is cheered in chat by Mel. So through La Source for the final time. Well. Your winner here in Spa is, unfortunately, I think Xevious has actually come to a halt on track. My goodness me, your winner here in Spa is Ultimate Kaiser. Ricky comes home in 2nd place. Matt's in 3rd. Wow, Struth alive. Yeah, there was a moment there for Xevious, although he has retained his 10th position. 4th is going to be Gillett, and that's a detonated car. Somewhat saw that coming. Wow, he's turned it into a bottle. The front somehow much much narrower than the front. There is Xevious. Not many people finishing on the same lap as each other, but Gillish Harmon is going to be 4th, Warlord 5th, Mammoth in 6th, Cuckoo 7th, Eddie in 8th, JD in 9th, and Xevious rounds out the top 10. Burn is going to be in 11th place. He crosses the line. Exus in 12th. Oh, there's no rear wing on the back of the Falcon Corvette. Bulletsan has had a real rough time of it. Condor in 13th, Arad 14th, Bulletsan 15th, Captain 16th. But I've got to say again, a big shout out to Andrew. He may well have been last and lapped, but he hung on in there. His hands must be cramped into a claw. The car is reshapen. But fair play to him. Absolutely fair play. Did not throw in the towel. He could have easily, and it would have been completely understandable that he didn't take part, but he stuck it out. Fair play to you.
Yeah, it's kind of makes you wonder if his fingers would be feeling any better if he'd raced on a keyboard instead. But absolutely tremendous effort by all the drivers there. 90 minutes and not one singular DNF.
Wow, a fair few penalties, mind. So this is before Stewart's intervention. Kaiser has the top spot. Ricky in 2nd, Mats in 3rd, Gillish Homan in 4th, Warlord in 5th, Mammoth 6th, Eddie in 7th, Cuckoo in 8th, JD 9th, and Xevious rounds out the top 10. Burned in 11th, Access 12th, Condor in 13th, Arid in 14th, Captain 15th, Bulletsan in 16th, and Andrew rounding out our field. Look at that, 5 stops from Bulletsan. So he had a really rough time in the Corvette. What a race!
I will say as well, most drivers in the top 10 managed to bring it home on a 2-stopper. So clearly some drivers here with a pretty good fuel strategy, and as you said, it was a crazy race. I thought that we couldn't quite top some of the action that we saw in the final laps of I believe it was the first race, but I think tonight may well have proved me wrong.
And my apologies. Well, I will say my apologies for my screaming. I don't actually apologise to it about it at all. Wow, that was absolutely something. So,
see, one of the reasons why I had no desire to interrupt you whatsoever is if I had done that, I would have had to speak at a much lower volume to not disturb the other people in this house. So I'm very glad that you were able to keep the feelings in there for so long, because that was great to watch and listen to. But we are going to quickly check which drivers are ready for an interview.
Wow, we do have two in the ready interview. Not two that I was expecting. So, I mean, obviously, you do the interviews and I'll do the background scenery.
All right, yo, I'll go ahead and bring in. I'll bring in Andrew. We typically bring in the winner first, but Andrew is a winner in my book for racing with a controller.
100%.
Bringing it home until the end, so we'll bring in the guy. Andrew, it was a Herculean effort by you and your fingers in particular. No merchant activities tonight, but you did bring it home.
Yeah. Well, I'm more interested. What happened on the final lap? I was listening along. It seemed like chaos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is actually a saying in English, but I do know in Dutch there is a saying like when two dogs are fighting for a bone, the third one runs away with it, and that's most certainly what happened tonight. Keza taking the win after Ricky and Mats collided on the final lap in Pujon. It was very, very tense stuff.
Yeah, it started kicking off in voice chat as well.
Ooh,
it's in German, so I didn't understand any of it.
See, I was about to ask if you could disclose any of that, but that's yeah. We don't speak German. Well, I know I don't speak German either, so I'm not sure about Kodiak.
Not enough to understand what they were saying.
All right, so Andrew,
it wasn't too bad. It was just a slightly annoyed. I think Kaiser told me or something like, "You can't do that. You've done that 3 times already." So,
ooh,
yeah, nothing too bad.
All right, but it was. As I'm getting a DM here from Captain saying that did not go well for him.
No,
but with an LMAO behind it, so he's still in good spirits.
Yeah.
Now, Andrew, about your race, how helpful were the settings that I sent you? Did they help at all?
No.
Silence. Tumbleweed.
No, that is a lie. Like the default ones are just like hilariously bad. So I used yours, and then I changed the throttle and brake sensitivity all the way to 50, and you have it on 0. So we definitely have different preference there.
Yeah, well, I see that's one thing I mentioned is the Xbox One controller. It's so much more sensitive than the 360, and if I had the sensitivity any higher than 0, I would be missing out on tons of power and just losing more time in places where I'm not currently already losing it on the controller in this game. So I'm glad that you managed to get it to somewhat work for your more sensitive controller. But do you think that you might have had a better time on a keyboard tonight?
Probably.
Have you actually raced on a keyboard before?
I have on the Spa-Francorchamps, but not on MS2.
Yeah, and for this race, I mean, obviously there were some moments where you were not in last place. How did you feel at those points in the race?
Not much. I knew it wasn't going to last long.
So was it mainly like what was actually happening to you? Were you understeering, oversteering? Was it issues on the brakes or?
It's just the steering sensitivity. I couldn't get the settings nailed, so.
Yeah, it is something that requires a lot of unfortunate fine tuning, and I've been playing this game for I'm sure a couple of years by now, and I still haven't got it quite right myself either. So very understandable that you couldn't do all that in one evening. Do you think you'll have your wheel clamp fixed by next week?
Yeah, I just ordered a new screw. Fucking 18 quid for a fucking screw. What a rip-off.
Okay, it sounds like they kind of got you screwed there.
Yeah, they really have.
Are there any positives to take away from tonight's race other than the fact that you do have a new screw on the way?
It was fun listening to the commentary.
I still don't know how you do that, race and listen to us shouting about it, especially when you're on stream. I don't know how you do that.
It's weird, isn't it? Some people need like dead silence when they're driving, but I really don't give a shit. I had the stream up, but I also had music over the stream as well. So.
See, we overpowered the music at the very end.
Mate, Kodiak, you popped off at the end. You went into
yeah, the thing is, I don't think about it. It is just all adrenaline and instinct at that stage. I mean, Martin has a hard enough time getting a word in edgeways at the best of times, so he had no hope in that moment.
Yeah, it's good. It's a sign of a good commentator, you know. You get into the flow state.
Absolutely. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to the next time that we hear that much enthusiasm from Kodiak. And Andrew, I do wish you the best of luck as well. Congrats again on your endurance. I hope your fingers will recover very soon.
Yeah, they're fine already.
All right, so he's got good healing powers. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Yeah, speak to you later.
Bringing in our race winner next. Welcome and congrats, Keza. What a finish.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, not the win I expected, or I mean, I wouldn't say wanted, but because obviously
I can hear you smiling.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It's really random. Like, additional info why I'm so happy is, I don't know if you saw that I went wide and Ricky got past.
Yes.
That was actually due. I don't know if you remember back in the LMDH League, I had issues with my wheel that the shifter would stop working, and it was working flawlessly all the time up until the last 6 laps or so of this race. I had the occasional upshift issue or downshift issue, and I was really scared of it stopping to work completely. Obviously, so I was basically clenching the buttocks for the last 5 or 6 steps. Yeah, insane. I don't know what happened between Ricky and Mats. I only saw it happen in Puan, but it's the I really wanted a win at this point, and for it to be happening in the endurance race, it's obviously amazing. Even though it's not on pure skill alone.
I mean, you are our 4th new winner out of 4 races, so that is quite something. Goes to show these races are not predictable.
True.
Yeah, I mean, you had. I mean, of course, you needed good pace because even with that incident, you only finished 3 seconds ahead of Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
You and Ricky were chasing down Mats at the end, provided that mistake didn't happen going out of the second sector there. Do you think you could have caught up to Mats on your own, or was he just too quick?
I think so. I think Mats was fuel saving in the end. He probably was pushing a bit too much early on. I caught Ricky, so why not? And if Ricky caught Mats, obviously I should have been able to catch up to Mats as well if it wasn't for the upshift issues. So yeah, it could have been a 3-way fight. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly was for a brief time, but you ended up taking the win after they collided. Now, related to that incident, we heard that there were some spicy German words said in the chat. Would you happen to be able to disclose any of the contents?
I mean, it was really, really brief because usually the race comms is quite disciplined, but it basically was like, you can't do that, and that's like the 3rd time this race or something.
Okay.
Obviously, those guys were fighting the whole race, so stuff like that. I already got a message from Mats afterwards. It's not like it's like an insane rivalry now or whatever. Most said, yeah, you look, we need to look at it, and I don't know if it's my blame. It's my blame.
I mean, of course, emotions will boil over in the heat of the moment like that. Fighting for a win on the final lap, no matter how disciplined the group is, I'd say they still handled it quite professionally, must be said. I would have to look again at the incident as well. They were side by side into Pouhon, and they both ended up spinning out of that corner, which definitely wasn't as black and white as some of the other incidents that I've seen. So yeah, that's definitely going to be an interesting one to look at in the steward room if it does get reported, which it most likely will.
Yeah. By the way, I think I have valuable information for you guys in the commentary booth. Because I know for a fact Ricky and I pitted on the same lap on the second pit stop, and Ricky said he was at like 0 liters when he reached his pit box, and I was fuel saving and had slipstream and whatever, and obviously I delayed, I was offset on the first pit stop by a lap, and I think I had like 11 liters in the tank. At the time I reached the pit stop, and before the pit stop, Ricky was 8 to 9 seconds ahead of me. So 10 seconds or something, 10 liters is about 8 seconds on the pit stop, roughly.
Wow.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. So fuel saving is insane, I think.
Yeah, it does seem to be a strategy that we keep on seeing in pretty much every race in these cars. Did you expect more drivers to be on a 3-stop, or is this more or less what you expected?
I expected drivers to go on a 2-stop. I knew that it was a bit easier in the Aston and I think Dodge than in the Maserati, for example. But yeah, I very much expected drivers to go for a 2-stop. I expected more drivers to try and change less tires or do like the double stint a set of tires. I think only Gillis did it, didn't pay off quite like that in the end, because he entered the pits behind me on the second pit stop and came out ahead of me, so I assume he didn't go for tires. But
he gained a tremendous amount of time in that pit stop.
Yeah, but fuel-wise, I definitely expected the 2-stop. I think some drivers opted to not fuel save and do the 3-stop, but I think the 2-stop was the better strategy.
Now, you did mention when Gillish was ahead of you. That's actually what I'm going to be making my final question for you, Keza, is there was a very, very tense moment with the top 4 being within about 4 to 5 seconds of each other, with 2 lapped cars in the vicinity. What is your take on JD's conduct in that battle?
I'm not gonna say much, but I don't think, from what I saw, that was very sportsmanlike. So I will actually personally open a ticket about it, even though I didn't really lose anything about it, because I think that needs to be addressed. And then we'll see what the stewards have to say.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming on, Kez. We have a couple more people to interview, so I'll let you enjoy your first win of the season.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for streaming. I'll have a great time watching it back. And yeah.
Oh, you'll really love the commentary of the final lap, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm surprised you didn't hear it over in between here and the UK and Germany, but
that sounds promising. That sounds promising for sure. All right, guys, thank you so much. I don't want to steal more of your time. See you next week.
Have a good one.
Dankeschön, Herr Kaiser.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I grabbed the wrong person there. Hold on. Welcome, Ricky. A P2 finish. It was very hard fought over. Of course, the most important thing this race, the final lap. What happened in your opinion?
Yeah, hello. It was an incredible race. Not so much action as the last race. This time it was more important to manage the tires and the fuel. But
that is very interesting that you say that, because to me it definitely looked like you were pushing for most of it. You were constantly closing gaps, going for overtakes.
Yeah, I managed to. In the first stint, I go full throttle at the beginning. In the second stint, I checked that the engine needs a little bit more fuel, and in the last stint, even more. So I have to manage the ECU on the middle or low position, and has to manage the fuel. And in the pitting time, I think that Mats don't fill the fuel tank to the max. He was faster in the pit than me 2 times, and I think he is a little bit. Yeah, has less fuel and was even fast as we all. Incredible. And the last few laps was very intense with Kaiser and Mats. Incredible.
Yeah, so we saw the moment where Kaiser made his mistake going into the gravel. What was your first thought when that happened and that gap to Mats opened up?
First to Kaiser, he got my position, but at this moment, 1 lap later, I think he drove much not so good, as he was back of me, and I came even closer to him, and I thought that I can catch him, but then he made his mistake. Yes, okay, nice for me, and yeah, and then I have to look that I can close the gap to Mats, and it would yeah, it was positive. I managed to take some fuel to get the ECU on maximum in the last 2 laps, and this was good. And this battle
So,
with
and
Mats.
I want to ask you about that final lap especially, because before we even get to the incident, you were very close out of La Source, but then it seemed like the exit out of Redion wasn't quite what you'd hoped it would be, and you
Yeah.
weren't able to get the move done at the end of the straight. So at that point, I mean, you were sending it into every corner after that. It was very, very exciting to watch. But how did you feel like your chances to win the race had lowered dramatically after the final Kemmel straight?
I didn't give up. The long straight, yes, I was not in my position that I would have to be, but I thought I push him in mental stress, and this was ja, it es hat funktioniert. It was good. I think he had stress from me, and his corners was not so good, and so I managed to get side by side, and yeah, then came the incident.
Yeah, so now about that incident, it was side by side through Pouhon, or double gauche, as a few people call it. Now, what is your take on what happened there, or do you still have to review the footage?
um, I I knew I have to be a little bit further on the brakes to get this corner and let a little bit space in the inside. And I checked the replay. It, I think in this second, he gets me. It was enough space, but for this little space, he was a little bit too fast. Maybe he needs more space. Simple, but so much space I didn't have managed to get him. So this is the problem. Yes.
So, would you say it's slightly more his fault, or would you call it a racing incident?
Uh, I call it a racing incident. Maybe he knew we want both through this corner and have to brake a little bit earlier than normal, but yeah, we have to wait about his comments about this incident, but yeah, I think it's not a big ticket. I don't want to make a ticket about this. It was a racing accident. It's a tragedy for both of us. We both want to win this race, and Käse was the lucky one. Okay, but yeah, shit happens.
Yeah, it's very interesting to hear your position on that one, Ricky. I don't think we'll be hearing Mats's full opinion anytime soon, because he has just apparently fired up iRacing Arcade, a brand new game, by the way. But yeah, it's I mean, it was absolutely thrilling to watch. You once again had very, very good pace. It's not been the easiest season. You've had a couple of lesser results, but I think this has definitely proven that you absolutely do have the pace to fight for the title, and all that we need now is some consistency and luck.
Yeah, it's far my best position in this championship and all the other championships together. It's my best race in history in this game. I'm very lucky today. Yes, not so lucky are my teammates. It's a little bit sad. They pushed each other off the track or something like that, and yeah, there was big trouble. But yeah, my teammate JD has a birthday in 1 hour and 10 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah, we celebrate the evening together now.
well, give us give him our congratulations as well.
Yes, I do. So yeah, was a great evening, and thank you guys for the great stream. I looked the replay in full, and yes.
It was definitely a dramatic one, so I think you'll enjoy the commentary, especially. I mean, of course, the final lap was not the best for you, but I think the enthusiastic commentary may well make up for that.
I think so, yes.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, Ricky, and hope to see you again next week.
Yes, bye-bye.
Dankeschön, tolles Rennen.
Danke.
It's definitely not every day that you hear a driver who just crashed out of the lead in the final lap say that he was very lucky.
Yeah, very true. Who have we got next?
Let's take a quick look at the order here. We have Warlord finished P5. That's our next highest finisher. Warlord, welcome. I'd say that was a fairly strong evening for you.
Yeah, it was decent. So,
Was it the power of the home race?
Maybe.
How many times in your sim racing career do you think you've driven this track?
Oh, I have no idea. No, I can't tell you. Probably too many. Not that many actually. I only do it for 2 years, so.
Oh, okay. So maybe still within single or double digits. Gotcha.
No, definitely double. Definitely. Maybe triple, but I don't know. I can't tell you.
I will say triple in 2 years would be impressive, but of course we don't have hard data on it. So I'll go ahead and ask you about your race because I'd say especially in the first half of the race, you were pretty much up there with the leaders. Ended up finishing 40 seconds off. Tell us a bit about that first half.
Yeah, well, I think the problem was I had a very good setup for qualifying, but for race pace it was not that good. Top speed was just very low, and they just flew by me. I had to save so much fuel that cost me a lot of time over the stints.
Yeah,
I was able to save a little bit when I was in the draft of Gillies and Kayse, but once I lost that draft, yeah, it was painful.
Yeah, so that's actually interesting. So before the race before you started the race, did you consciously choose a setup that was like more downforce oriented for Sector 2, or?
Yeah, I did try different setups. I was struggling with lower downforce. But yeah, I should maybe have tested more for fuel saving, which probably would be better with the low fuel.
Low downforce, you mean?
Yeah, low downforce.
Yeah, because I was about to say the high downforce, it helps with stability, but it not only will make you a bit of a sitting duck on the straights, it will cost you fuel as well. And in these cars, I think they're a bit more sensitive to that than the average car that we've raced in throughout MSR's history now. Did you think at any point that you would be able to catch Gillis, because his pace was dropping off quite sharply at the end?
I was hoping that there will be a mistake on his part, or when he had to save a lot more fuel than I was, but looks like he was able to hold the gap.
Yeah, and I'm just taking a quick look here. Could you tell us again who your teammate is?
Burnt.
Yeah, so Burnt seemed to be very competitive in the first half as well. We thought even fighting for a podium at some point, but ended up having 4 visits to the pits. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, he just told me. Apparently, he started to race with only like 4 laps of fuel.
Oh my word!
The wrong number, yeah.
So wait, he started the race with that, or was that after one of the pit stops?
No, he started with that. I think he didn't fuel up his car by mistake.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate one there. He's at least got no actual time penalties, though. We've seen quite a few people tonight that actually did pick one up. But I'd say, yeah, no, it's been a promising evening. You both had a pace that was absolutely worthy of the top 5. Do you think you're going to be able to keep up this competitiveness in the final races of the season?
Yeah, I hope so. Every race I'm learning a lot more about the car, like the fuel situation. That's something I have to pay more attention to. So if it's another track with long straights, I probably have to take some wing out.
Yeah, next track on the calendar is Silverstone. Do you have a favorite layout of that track? Because it has changed a decent bit over the years.
I kind of like the current one, but I don't think I have driven all the other ones. I've driven the very old one, but that was like the same corner, but like 6 times, so I don't really like that one. Yeah, but I do like the current layout. There's probably some good layouts between there as well, which I have to try.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd say some of the older ones are maybe slightly less forgiving, except for the really old ones, of course. But yeah, the current one, I mean, if it's able to give a good F1 race every year, even with some of the regulations not allowing for that many overtakes, it's a sign that it's definitely a good track. So I'm most certainly looking forward to it. But I guess I'll ask you for my final question. Which track have you raced more on, Silverstone or Spa?
Spa.
I mean, it makes sense. You are a Belgian too, of course. Actually, no. A new final question. A new final question. Have you ever been to Spa before?
No, I have not yet. I'd like to at some point, but at the moment, it didn't happen yet.
Well, if you ever happen to time travel and you go to Spa, definitely don't visit the track in 2021. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. I do remember that. I do remember that.
All right. Well, with that laugh, I'll leave you to it, and you can enjoy your hard-earned points tonight.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one. Next in will be his teammate Bernd. Welcome, Bernd. It was a tough race, but we saw some impressive pace from you tonight. I think Bernd may have fallen asleep. We'll wait another 10 seconds, and if he's not back by then, I'll drag in Cuckoo, who's currently streaming for Andrew at the moment.
Ricky in chat was asking who had the fastest lap. I think it was Ricky, wasn't it? That kept the fastest lap at the end.
So I still have the screen up. I can quickly check that for you. So we had 3 drivers in the 215s. They were, in fact, the top 3, Keza, Ricky, and Mats. And the fastest of them all was indeed Ricky with a 2:15.395.
I thought Ricky had hung on to it.
Well, Bernd has not hung on to his mic, so I'll drop him back into the ready for interview chat.
Okie dokie.
Welcome, Cuckoo. Sorry to interrupt that stream. You had well, I mean, it was certainly an eventful race. You finished in 8th position. I'm sure it's not quite what you were looking for.
I think it's going to be 7 based on the outcome of my my appeal that I'm going to be doing. But
Ooh, yeah, you did catch a hefty penalty.
yeah, it's track limit penalty, but I'm appealing it because I don't think I deserve it.
That is interesting. I mean, can you explain it to us? Because I don't think I've seen all that many times where a track limit penalty got overturned.
So, I think the main basis for me appealing this is on 3 of the penalty points that I received, which were 1 when Exus crashed into the side of me, and I had to go take the escape road across the bus stop chicane.
Mm-hmm.
I got a penalty for that.
Wonderful.
And then I had a little later on after that, my seat position in the car started sliding backwards.
Wait, like in your rig or in the actual game?
In the actual game, it just started sliding backwards.
What in the world?
Yeah, and it went down and backwards, and it morphed me into the chair. I became the chair of the car, and I just couldn't see anything.
Yeah, I was about to say, can you even see anything at that height?
No, I couldn't.
My word.
I had become one with the chair of the car.
And you are racing in VR or not?
In VR, yeah.
Oh my word. Did you change camera angles then?
No, my view was just black at that point. I had been battling with Eddie and Mammoth before that happened, but I ended up having to just park it. I thought I was out, honestly. But I unfortunately ended up cutting the bus stop chicane again because I was trying to stay out of the way of everyone while I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. So I got another one for that.
Oh.
So yeah, I got a few ones that I think.
So how did you fix your situation when you pulled over?
It eventually stopped doing it, and I adjusted the seat position back, and then carried on.
All right, well, it's definitely not every day that someone just completely comes to a standstill and still finishes on the lead lap. So I'm glad that didn't last as long as a bad Sauber pit stop. But no, that's very strange.
At least 10 seconds or something. So those are 2 notable examples where I got penalty points that I don't think I should have had.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try and appeal it based on that. So
I've
other than-
heard all manner of driver excuses in my time, but that is a first. That is a definite first.
I couldn't figure out why it was doing it. It was so annoying, but yeah, it was especially frustrating because obviously I was within touching distance of you know, the top, well, about 4 or whatever at that point. You know, I was only like 7 seconds back from them. And then that happened, which put me completely down the order. So the fact I even managed to get back up to finishing behind Mammoth was a small miracle, honestly.
Yeah, so I'd say it's some decent damage limitation on what's been an unfortunate evening now. Did you still have a lot of fights in this race? I think we saw you a decent bit in the first stint.
Yeah, the first stint was all right, but kind of annoying because I just couldn't find my way past them. And then obviously I had contact with Exus, which was unfortunate. And then it was mostly I just put the hammer down, and I don't think I really did any fuel saving for like the next stint after that. There were definitely a good like 4 or 5 laps where I was just properly flooring it. Which came back to bite me a little bit in the final stint, but not terribly badly. So
what was the best place around this track to kind of save a bit of fuel?
everywhere for me. Yeah, I was lifting off at like 400, 500 meters before the turn after Eau Rouge. So I was cruising into there, just completely lifted off.
I was about to say, if that was 400 meters before every turn, that would be very, very interesting with some of these runs having like
some
maybe...
of them, but not every turn. So yeah, turn, what was it, like 3, turn 6, turn 8, and then turn...
Oh, I'm not going to make you number every single one of them, but next...
Most corners, just ease off the throttle, short shifting to hell as well. I have never lapped, so I was like 4.5 seconds off my best lap at the end.
Oh, yeah, that's...
I was fuel saving aggressively.
Yeah,
It was
not the most
bad.
satisfying way to go racing.
Bad.
Oh, well, next race I believe should be your home race.
Yes, Silverstone.
Now, do you have a favorite layout of Silverstone? Because we've asked the previous interview as well. They hadn't really driven that many different variations of it. I think you have.
To be honest, I quite like them all, but I'm a fan of like the older one from like before they revamped it.
You mean like the really old one where all 6 corners are almost the same?
No, not the really old one, like the older F1 one.
You're doing
Like-
the 90s layout when...
Yeah,
Yeah, that's one of mine as well.
I think I like it more than the modern one, just by a little bit.
And is Silverstone your favorite British track in general?
Probably is. I'm a big fan of Donington Park as well. I normally run quite well at Donington, but
With or without the extra hairpin?
either really. I don't really mind.
Yeah, I mean, Donington used to host F1 as well. It's been a track that I've enjoyed quite a bit myself, although not always the track limit system there in certain games, which will not be named tonight. But no, it's definitely one of the tracks that I enjoy as well. Surprised to hear you didn't say Snetterton, because I think that's one of the most underrated ones out there.
I hate Snetterton.
Oh,
Let me
you heathen.
drive that, please.
Oh, that's it. I'm going to assign you 300 laps at Snetterton in the Formula Junior now.
Oh, Formula Junior's even better. I love those cars. But thank you for...
Only if you're donating to charity for that, honestly.
I'll be on
the
track.
charity will go to fund races for people who don't appreciate Snetterton.
You can't make me drive Snetterton.
Well, I'm glad that you'll at least be looking forward to driving some Silverstone. So thank you very much for coming on, Cuckoo, and I wish you a lot of good racing without too much seat shifting next week.
Yeah, fingers crossed I get the 7th place. I think it was back because yeah, a few unfortunate things that ended up costing me there, but I shall try, and we shall see what happens.
We shall see indeed. Thank you very much, Cookie.
Ta-ta.
All right, I think Bernd is retired for the night, so that was our final interview.
Indeed so. So that is going to bring an end to tonight's festivities. Thank you very much to those that have watched us either live or post-event. Your presence and company is always very welcome. Thank you very much, Martin, for joining me in the commentary box. It is always a pleasure to have you alongside me for these incredible races.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
And we will indeed see you next time. As you can see on the calendar, it is next week we head to the home of British motorsport, Silverstone. We hope to see you there. Until next time, thank you very much and good night.